across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I've been stabbed, I cannot breathe. Those were the final words of Henry Novak as a passive-aggressive police officer handcuffed him for the crime of being murdered for the colour of his skin. As far as I'm concerned, this was a racist attack, and it is a racist police force in Hampshire. Now, people are going to ask, how can a white police force be racist against white people? Well, I remind you of the old saying, it's always easy to pay one half of the poor to kill the other half of the poor. But moreover, the reality is this: police officers up and down the country have been contacting me and indeed contacting other journalists and saying the following: we know that unless we can prove that we are willing to be nasty, racist to white kids, then we know we will never be promoted. Now, I believe that those people that have got in touch are guilty of a remarkable act of cowardice, but nonetheless, their leadership need to take some responsibility. So I'll tell you what we're going to do right now. On the 25th of May 2000, George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, and we had all of our politicians up and down the country taking the knee in some sort of apology on behalf of us, British people, for the performance of police officers in Minneapolis. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the knee in this studio tonight, and I invite you to do it and tweet us at Andre JP Walker, at Virtual Ash. And I'll tell you why I think you should do that, because I think it's time that we apologised to the ordinary white indigenous British people who are being bullied by our system. Now, it's going to involve me having to get on the desk, but nonetheless, there we go. I will now take the knee and I will say to you, and I'll get down, you can do this, I'm going to say, this is me, Andre Walker, as a presenter on Talk, taking the knee in defence and support of young British people who are being bullied and harassed by a police force, by a system, by a probation service, by a court system, by a CPS that has been taken over by the radical left. We now live in a racist country, and if you are going to take the knee, Keir Starmer, for somebody in a foreign country that has got nothing to do with us, then we should take the knee for British people, and I'm happy to do that.
I would have done it as well, but the desk, we've looked into it and it would have broken. But at first I thought, no, I'm not going to do it because, you know, I don't agree with the knee. But then I thought, just because of the hypocrisy of what they're doing, I think it's a very good gesture, and it's an outrage. But the other, you know, what it is officially racist when you see the NPCC guide saying treat people differently according to the colour and their race.
Absolutely.
I mean, it literally says that. They're meant to do an oath, fear or favour. Isn't that part of the oath? So doesn't this go against... They don't seem to care, but obviously...
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, some people are going to say that taking the knee is some form of gesture. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not that bothered about taking the knee or apologising for things that I'm not responsible for. But by God, the reason I did it is because if politicians up and down this country are going to allow racism against white people, they're going to allow anti-Semitism to run rampant, they're going to allow grooming gangs to get away with it, they're going to allow these vape shops, everybody knows that it's Kurdish criminal gangs running the vape shops, we're going to allow these Turkish barbers, quote-unquote, Turkish barbers, Albanian cocaine gangs sticking money. If we are going to do all of that and then take a knee for bloody George Floyd, who never set foot in the United Kingdom, probably never met anyone from the United Kingdom, then I think that we have a duty to do this. Now, here's my question to you, Asher. Yeah. Should we bother with any of these gestures, or is it just...
No, I think it's good just to stick it to the people that did that gesture. I mean, as well, remember the George Floyd case? It wasn't ever racist. He'd done it to white people as well. He was just a scumbag police officer, as were his mates who all got done, whereas this is officially... The police are institutionally racist. Officially, in the NPCC guide, it says differentiate between races, which is the dictionary definition of racism,
look,
which is outrageous.
I'm not,
and it's why we've ended up in this situation over the past 30 odd years.
I'm not comparing two things like.
Well, they didn't kill him. I'm not
comparing Nazi Germany to modern day Hampshire. But here is one similarity. Right up and down the Third Reich, at the end of the Second World War, there were police officers who had joined for all good reasons. Now, I'm talking about not just German police, French police, Dutch police, and whatever, who had been dragooned into rounding up Jews. Now, they didn't kill the Jews, they didn't gas the Jews, but they did nonetheless put them on trains. And those people at the end of the Second World War said, we were police officers and we were merely following orders. Now, they were not prosecuted because they weren't involved in the Holocaust, but aren't they basically saying precisely the same thing that police officers are saying to us now?
We're just following orders.
Which is, we never joined the police in order to do this. However, the rules have changed and now we are required to do it. And for me, although it is not, I mean, you can't compare what goes on in Britain to what went on in Nazi Germany. I wouldn't want to. But it is the same concept that people in a position of responsibility, police officers, should work with their conscience rather than simply going along. I mean, what happened?
There are a lot of similarities. Obviously, we're not in the same stage, Nazi Germany, but there's already Jewish comedians are banned from the Edinburgh Festival. You know, that's just a fact. And they're nothing to do, they're not pro-Israel or anything. They literally just said, the staff said, oh, we don't feel safe with Jewish comedians coming. So, and that's what happened in Germany. You know, in the universities, it all began in Nazi Germany, in the academies and the universities with the intellectuals, as it is here. You know, there are a lot of similarities, but obviously we're at a very much earlier stage. But it needs to be. I don't think it will take on in this country, but it's never been as bad. Yeah, the whole thing, you know, against the British population, like what you're saying with the girls. I mean, Starmer going on about Novak, you know, disgusting murder, and him saying this is disgraceful. He doesn't care about all these working class girls, hundreds of thousands of them. Anyway, we've got a clip of Kemi talking about that from Julia earlier this morning. Can we have a bit of that? Press play. Let's have a look at it.
I don't want to drag this boy into it.
Take the debate on to
onto the
him
issues,
behind.
not onto Henry, and that is something that the family have asked for. It was very, very emotional, very heartbreaking when they said that he was a good boy, that he was someone who had friends of different backgrounds. They have friends who are Sikh. They can see that this murderer, I don't even say his name, has created all sorts of problems with peaceful Sikh people who've been minding their business for hundreds of years. And we need to make sure that the police, who have lost a lot of trust, now start fixing that the police have a lot to fix. They want to see an investigation. They want the IOPC to look into things. That's something that my party has called for. But let's not drag Henry into this.
I'm going to say something now that is incredibly controversial, and I want you to listen to it carefully because I don't want you to misunderstand it. Look, Henry Novak has a wider significance than just him as an individual. Every parent, every grandparent, every aunt and uncle is worried now about whether their niece, their nephew, their daughter, their granddaughter or grandson could be killed in this way. Also, let's just be clear about Henry Novak. It's an extreme example, and he's a nice boy that went to university. Let me tell you, young working-class white boys have been getting done for racism unfairly for the past 10 years, and the police have been getting away with it. The Crown Prosecution Service have been getting away with it. I will tell you, this guy, Henry Novak, is similar to Stephen Lawrence. Had Stephen Lawrence been a Rastafarian drug dealer, then nobody would have taken any notice of his murder. As it was, he was an architecture student and he was a nice guy, went to church and all this sort of thing. Similarly, Henry Novak is somebody who went to university and will highlight the issue. But just like Stephen Lawrence, remember There are thousands and thousands and thousands of less quote-unquote deserving cases where people are being bullied and threatened and ridiculed. The reality is, when people are saying everybody is equal in front of the law, it is not true to say everyone is equal.
And that's official in the NPCC, black and white, in ink.
If Asher Gould and I have a fight and I call him the Y word and he calls me a fat git, I will be given an additional punishment because it will be racially aggravated, right? That means that...
But being called fat is very hurtful in itself.
But let me now say this to you, and it is a controversial point that I'm going to put to Phil Dave, who's our guest, who's listening intently and got loads of things to respond to.
All right, Dave.
Here is one thing that I'm going to say. I feel very sorry for the Novak family and my thoughts, but more importantly, my prayers, because my prayers are more important than my thoughts, are with them at this difficult time. However, just because Mark Novak wants to have a peaceful resolution to all this doesn't mean we should do it. The reality is his son is very sadly dead. We now need to ensure that other children and young people are not killed in similar circumstances. And if that means a fulsome and honest debate about the death of his child, then I'm afraid that is what has got to happen.
I think Farage was right, and I think Starmer, the hypocrisy of saying he's using the death of Novak for political points, as he's doing exactly that thing. Farage was doing it, and by the way, the BBC had to apologise because they said he said white rage. He said cold rage, meaning don't go out and burn things down, you know. And that is exactly how the majority people feel. It's the minority elites that are saying, oh no, they want to shut it down. They want to carry on with it.
But what we saw, Asher, what we saw, Phil, in fact, we'll go to Phil. Look, I do not support people shouting abuse at the police, and I don't support people throwing bricks through car windows. But let's be clear, once again, the reason people are upset is because a kid was knifed 5 times in the chest. He attempted to get away, fell on a car, rolled on the floor, and whilst he was choking to death on his own blood, the police arrested him for a race hate incident. That's the reason that people are shouting at the police. It's not because they're violent thugs who are obsessed with violence. Your response?
Yeah, totally and utterly. I think that we actually need to sort of step back and just contemplate exactly what the core of this story is. I know that we've spoken about it a lot on Talk, so forgive me, I'm not trying to sort of patronise people and not know what's already gone on. But at the heart of this is an 18-year-old who had his whole life ahead of him. He was the victim of a stabbing. And when he turned to the police, who were supposed to keep us safe and protect us, protect the innocent, how many times have we heard over the years, if you're innocent, you've got nothing to worry about? This has just shattered that theory right out of the water.
He probably thought he was safe when he heard the coppers come in.
Absolutely. He probably would have been so relieved when the police arrived and think to himself, at last, I'm saved. You know, I've been attacked, I've been stabbed.
They may have actually hastened his death when they handcuffed him. He may have lasted a few hours.
We don't know that, but it's possible.
But it's very... But they are looking into it to see whether he would have died. But even if he would have died 5 hours later, they may have hastened it. He had a stab wound in the chest. They put his hands behind his back, handcuffed him. And he was pretty much dead after that because the woman said the pupils are not dilating or moving, which is one of a reflex. Lack of reflex is one of the signs of death. So they may have actually killed him just by handcuffing his arms behind his back.
But I think that's a critical point by Asher. This assertion, well, he would have died anyway. Well, you don't know that. There are people, remember, who have a 1% chance of survival who survive, right?
But also, if he would have died 3 hours later, if they killed him within that minute, they've killed him.
Equally, there are people who survive non-survivable plane crashes, because there's a technical term. But remember something. When somebody is dying or somebody is in that situation, you grab the hand, you go, come on, John, keep fighting, keep going, stay alive, right? And you know what? Sometimes that works. Well, clearly, he got the opposite. He got told to give up. And one would have also thought, just to expand Asher's point, if you have a stab wound in your chest and your arms are pulled behind your back, I mean, those of you listening on the radio,
the rib cage will expand and then push out
one can imagine that would allow more blood to escape.
But the other thing as well you've got to contemplate is that the police officer, I'm sure you've seen the footage as well, the police officer, when Henry says, I've been stabbed, I can't breathe, he says, I don't think you have. So literally, the last thing...
I don't think you have, mate.
the last thing he would have heard is someone not believing how seriously injured he was. That was like the last thing he would have remembered about his life. That's horrendous.
I don't think with the adrenaline, I don't think he'd have been. He was trying to survive, and I think basically they arrested him, and by the time they were reading his rights, I think he was dead. Because
by the way, I just want to ask a question. Has that arrest been recorded, or has he been formally de-arrested? Simply because, given that he was wrongfully arrested, can you imagine that they actually went back? And I could imagine this with the modern bureaucracy of the police. They went back to the police station and go, well, technically he did get arrested before he died, therefore we should record.
No, but he didn't, because he didn't get his rights read to him because he was dead, and he didn't reply, yes, I understood it, because he was dead. So technically he couldn't have been arrested.
I will tell you, call me a conspiracy theorist if you will.
It shouldn't be like.
I would like to know for certain from Hampshire Police that his arrest was not recorded on his record.
Yeah. But otherwise can we also just like sort of highlight the other thing here is that, and I know that this has been spoken about a lot, but let's try and get our heads around it, that the police, they are so blinded by this DEI nonsense about treating criminals as equal, or actually, no, not even equal. What am I talking about? Putting criminals on a pedestal now, let's be honest, they're elevating them. That they would sooner believe the word of someone who cries wolf, or let's be honest, cries racist, rather than actually someone who's just innocent. It's just outrageous.
But now, Phil, all of these people who have gone to court, all of these people that have accepted cautions, all of these people that have been arrested who say, I didn't call him the P word, I didn't racially abuse him. What happens to all of those people? Because it is now very, very... I mean, look, if you arrest a guy who's been stabbed for dying, right, then that is the worst. But it's very clear to me that there is a rule now that if you are non-white and you simply say, that person called me the N-word, that person is in trouble, even if that allegation has no basis in provable fact. And that, I think, raises some serious questions, because, as you know, being called racist nowadays, or more so 5 years ago, is like catching leprosy would have been in the time of Jesus, right? It's something that is absolute social death. How many of these convictions, how many of these cautions actually are just pure fiction?
Well, as if we're going to know the answer to that. Well, but it certainly raises the question, doesn't it? And you have to can't help but think that... What on earth, does this mean that sort of people who actually have been convicted of racism were actually innocent all along, all because the people who could play the race card played the race card? I mean, the only possible answer, if any politicians have got half an ounce of sense, and sadly I don't associate much sense with the current government, but if they had half an ounce of sense, what they would turn around and say is, we realise DEI has been an absolute disaster, and it was a really silly thing to do. The only way you can truly treat everyone as equal when it comes to the law is say, we don't care who you are, we don't care what your background is, if we suspect you of something, we're going to arrest you.
But we have watched it. We've watched it. The debate has moved. I mean, look, can I be really awful? Axel Rudicabana took a machete and slit the throats of 7-year-old girls, right? Very quickly, the debate turned into how dare people take to the streets angrily about it. It took the British body politic and the police and the government and the Labour Party and all these people all of 5 minutes to start going on about far-right thugs. I'm going to tell you, somebody gets beard up and calls the police, I'll see you next Tuesday. I don't care. I care about what's happened to Henry Novak, and I want action on it not happening again. Whereas what we're doing is, we got in PMQs the other day a pledge to make sure the far-right thugs got to court as quickly as possible, before there was even a pledge to challenge the ludicrously short sentence that, what's his name, Vikram Dickwedge, or whatever his name was, well, before we even challenged his 21 years, which, by the way, was the minimum he could have possibly been sentenced to.
Anyway, look, Dave, before you answer that, so mate, Dave, we've got to take a little break because we're a bit late, but we'll be back with Phil and more of this after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, so I want to move on to something else that's been discussed today, this idea of removing the livery of any political campaign from your clothing if you work in the public sector. So if you are a university lecturer, if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, you have to take away all symbols of your political or religious views. Let's just be clear. The only thing we're actually really going to take away is the Palestinian flag, because that's the only thing that's being shown. I personally believe that the crucifix should be allowed because it is a religious symbol of the state religion. All the rest of it, get rid of. Oh my God! How can you say that that you can show the Christian cross and not the Sikh whatever? Don't care. Christianity is the state religion of the United Kingdom. I think you should be able to show the crucifix and only the crucifix. But, Phil, Dave, I have to say to you, first and foremost, I just want to be clear on one thing. I went to a hospital in Israel a little while ago, and I saw ordinary Muslim people not just treating Jewish people, but treating injured Jewish soldiers from the Israeli Defence Force. So I want to be clear.
And the other way around, Israel treats terrorists like Sinwar, who went on to murder loads. They saved his life.
Yeah, I don't want to accuse every Muslim of being a racist against Jewish people. But I have to say to you, when people have the Palestinian flag, or from the river to the sea, or globalise the Intifada, that sort of thing, I think is intimidating. Do you know what? I don't care that much about a Labour Party badge, though I wouldn't allow it. But I think when you are supporting a global genocide, then that really does take the biscuit, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, let's be very clear. What you're actually talking about is supporting an actual genocide rather than those who carry out the genocide accusing those who don't carry out genocide of carrying out genocide. So let's be really clear on that front. Look, I personally think that there is a time and a place for everything, and I believe that when you are in a hospital environment, in a medical environment, you don't really want or need to be reminded of anything political, because frankly, you don't give a hoot if you're in hospital, you're trying to get treated. But there is absolutely something very intimidating if you happen to be of a Jewish background in the UK at the moment, and you see someone who is supposed to treat all patients equally wearing a symbol that represents the people who want to kill you.
Yeah,
that's quite unpleasant.
But as far as I'm concerned, when I look at a nurse or a doctor and I think you support a genocide, I think, well, it's not very Hippocratic oathy, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, if what you want to do is kill every Jew from the river to the sea, then you're probably not going to be that great in terms of bedside manner.
Well, especially if you're Jewish and you're being nursed by someone who wants to kill Jews. I mean, there was that case in Australia, wasn't there, where they openly, the nurses
they said they won't treat them.
No, they said they'll kill it. That we can. They sort of.
Yes, of course they said
could
kill them.
kill them. And then we've had people. There's been stories here of this nurse who made this Jewish kid sit on the floor, like literally treating them in terrible ways. It's going on all over the shop. So.
I think it's very simple. When it gets to that kind of degree, an individual shouldn't be working in our health service. And I know that the argument is that the health service is already overstretched. Why would you fire a trained medical professional just because of their political views? Well, I'd argue that if they bring their political views to work, they're probably not that professional.
But if I walked into talk and said, hey, I'm a big racist and want to kill all Muslims, then they would throw me out, and rightly so, right? You know,
let's be very clear. People have been dismissed for racism.
Yeah. Imagine I said, from the river to the sea, South London will be free. Imagine I said that. Imagine I turned up with that T-shirt, which is plainly about removing non-white people from South London, right? From the River Thames to the English Channel, right? Everyone knows what all this stuff means.
But I was to say, we don't really need to work on hypothesis, because this is all true. I'm not necessarily talking about sort of what you refer to as South London, but there are people in this country who sadly work in our health sector who think it is remotely acceptable to wear a badge of an imaginary country that has never existed and never will exist, as far as I'm concerned, and I think most people with half a brain is concerned, but then to actually know full well that that symbol actually acknowledges a regime and gives it like this regime credence, if you like, who openly declare they want to kill all Jews. It just doesn't make sense, and it should not be allowed.
It's not a tiny minority either. I mean, you look at the BMA and a lot of their meetings, like 80% of the discussion was on Gaza issues, which
is
got to do with medical.
Absolutely bizarre.
So it's totally rotten.
I mean, I had a friend of mine who was at the when Guys and Thomases decided to come up with their new mission statement. They were sort of, we are world-class healthcare, and all. They got all the managers together. Now, the fact they got all the managers together for a day-long debate about their vision statement was a bit crummy to start with. But of course, somebody puts a hand up and says, "I think we should have a commitment to anti-slavery." They're an NHS foundation, right?
Yeah.
Point number one, we apologise for the war, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just ludicrous.
Honestly, it just baffles me, because, the truth is that there are certain times and certain places where things possibly might be appropriate. One might describe us, the three of us, as hypocrites by sort of obviously openly declaring our political stance, but we are on a radio station that is dedicated to political opinion. But when you go to somewhere such as, let's go back to our earlier discussion, you look at the police force, right? Clearly the police have been very heavily influenced by political agendas. And then you now look at the world of medicine and the NHS. And I'm sorry, but we're talking about this now at the start of what some people describe as Pride Month. I happen not to, because I don't really like division. But, they're now talking about it at the start of Pride Month. How many are going to be wearing rainbow lanyards? I don't really give a hoot about any of this stuff. I tell you what I care about. I care about medical professionals treating everyone the same, and just
But
concentrating
from
on getting them
job,
better.
yeah.
From what I can see, there's like one day a year where they take down the Pride banners in order to put up next year's Pride banners. I mean,
They've got to add a few more
Feels
strikes.
like it.
Anyway, after the break, I want to ask these two guys about the banning of the Young Turks from the UK. I can't pronounce that bloke's name, Ken Kawunki or something. Whatever his name is. It's really interesting that now people from the political left are being banned from this country by Keir Starmer. Oh, first they came for the trade unionists, and I did nothing. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Andre and Ash, and just before we get to our meat and potatoes, continuing with Phil Day, we've just got to tell you about this. The FIFA World Cup 2026 is almost here, and thanks to Adidas, the tournament's official match ball supplier, our friends at talkSPORT over there are giving you the chance to be there. Adidas is sending you and a friend potentially to Dallas to see England versus Croatia live on June the 17th with return flights, accommodation, spending money, tickets, and your very own Adidas official match ball Trionda. Be at England's first game in the FIFA World Cup at one of the world's best stadiums. Ready to get that winning feeling? Here's how you enter.
For your chance to win, head to our friends at talksportwin.com or text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 12th of June 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksportwin.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Yes.
OK, Becca, I'm going to say to you, you don't know your geography very well, because she said from the river to the sea, Islington will be free. Islington is North London. So the river being the Thames and the sea being the English Channel. Well, it could be from
the Tyburn, the River Fleet.
It could be from the river. I suppose it could be from the Thames to the North Sea.
The River
but
Severn.
That could be quite a long way. Anyway, look, I can't pronounce the name of this guy. His name is something like Cenk Uygur, apparently is his name.
Cenk Uygur.
Cenk Uygur has been banned from the UK. Just to explain, what happened. He was due to make a series of speeches in the UK. He'd been invited by the Green Party and various lefties. He's the presenter of a TV show, YouTube show in America called The Young Turks. Very, very popular on the political left. Now, he's been very critical of Israel. I personally don't care, but he's been banned from the UK. Here's the critical point. Him and his chums were the very people who were talking about banning people for being, quote-unquote, far-right, banning people for being, supportive of the patriotic movement in this country. I personally think he should have been allowed in the UK. But what he wants, remember, is for him to be allowed to speak and for us to not be allowed to speak. I think it should be fair for everyone. So I would open the doors for him, but I would also open the doors for... Now, by the way, hate preachers, people who say you should, Jews and Christians are monkeys and should be killed, those people are just inciting violence. So just to explain, I believe in unfettered free speech. But remember, if me and Ash go to the pub now and discuss an armed robbery, that is not free speech. That is the commissioning of a crime, which is illegal, right? So if the free speech that we're indulging in is saying go out and kill Bob Jones because he's Jewish, that is not free speech. It's the commissioning of crime. It's incitement. So I believe that Cenk Uyghur's criticism of Israel, knock yourself out.
He blamed Israel on being banned from here, didn't he? As if, we can't make our own decisions over here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they won't ban the hate preachers. They won't ban the real hardcore extremists. They'll just ban the ones like him.
No, indeed. But look, Phil, Dave, my view is and remains this, that we should have that these speakers, as long as they're not inciting violence, should be allowed into the UK, because what's going to happen is we're going to end up in a situation where we have Keir Starmer deciding what we can and can't listen to.
Yeah, and the other thing you've got to consider very carefully, as much as I despise these two who've been banned, and let's be very clear, by the way, at no stage did the government ever say it was anything to do with their criticism of Israel. They've interpreted it as that, but the government has not cited that. They cited something along the lines of they think that it would be wrong for the
Public
country
good
at the moment, based on sort of how inflammatory they are. But no, my concern is that they will use this, if you like, these two as a scapegoat to be able to now turn around and say that people who are on the extreme right of politics, except of course we all know they don't quite understand what extreme right politics is, but on the extreme right of politics, in inverted commas, will now be banned as well. And that's what I'm worried about, because they're going to say, well, look, we've done it on the left as well.
Ceding power to Keir Starmer to decide what should and should not be said is a dangerous move.
They already have banned what they call far right. That woman from Holland, they banned a load, didn't they, to the Tommy Robinson.
Well, there you go. So it may just even be balancing it out, just so they can justify some of the people.
Look, I find it a little bit odd. So what this Cenk Uyghur apparently has said is that that Israel something like prevents criticism of Israel in Western countries. Well, here would be my argument if I was an Israeli. I would say, well, one would expect the embassies of Israel around the world, as one would expect the embassy of any country around the world, to offer a fulsome defence and opposition of criticism of the country. Right, I mean, I assume that when France is criticised, the French embassy make an effort.
Yeah, but what he's trying to suggest is, the Jews, they have their tentacles and are controlling the American government and the British. It's a load of bunkum. I mean, there's about 9 million of them there.
But the way I think we need to look, this personally is the way I think we need to look at this, because I have just come back from Israel literally this week.
Where's your suntan? What was going on?
Well, no, I'm afraid, sorry, I don't.
Do you have a hanky on your head when you're in?
Yeah. I do actually. Yeah, I can
what makes me laugh is I think the reason Phil Dave's family left the Middle East is because they couldn't afford to factor 50,000.
They hadn't been invented.
Couldn't keep protecting ourselves.
Just that olive oil, and that just made it worse.
But the reason why I mention it is because what I think is amusing is the way that we are so consumed by the situation in the Middle East and the West, and I am telling you, they could not give a hoot what anyone in the West thinks about them. Doesn't matter to them, because they're getting on with their life. they have slightly more important things to worry about than whether or not some ridiculous individual who's got about 100 piercings, several tattoos, green spiky hair, and identifies as either Arthur or Martha when it suits them, and then says queers for Palestine. They don't care what people like that think, really don't care at all, because all that matters to them is survival, and people's opinion is, especially in the West, is totally irrelevant.
But I think, look, there is a degree of anti-Semitism here because, obviously, your average Joe wandering around a pub in Tel Aviv is not going to be concerned about the geopolitical situation with the F-15 fighter programme in the UK, right? And they'd be mad if they were interested in it.
Not in the least.
But at the same time, if I look at... I had a friend who was the Armenian chargé d'affaires, which means the acting ambassador, when the ambassador died. Look, inevitably, there is a large Armenian diaspora across the world, and those people want to assist their embassy in advocating for what they see as, quote-unquote, their home country. Now, it's slightly different with Jewish people because their connection to Israel is much more distant, but many Jewish people in Britain consider themselves to be effectively a diaspora from the Holy Land, if you like, and they...
Well, because we are. It's not even so much considered. That is what it is.
And they will defend the interests of what they see as the mother country in the same way as every other. Certainly the Armenians did, and the Armenians had significant things to do because obviously they have had territorial disputes. It's in the same way as Israel. They've had disputed territories and things like that. I just think I go back to this same point that we're obsessed with Israel being different to every other country in the world. It should have national security. It should have a counter-terrorism. But critically, I think we don't want Keir Starmer to be able to say, and I think what you two said was right, Keir Starmer's going to turn around and say, well, I banned these two lefties, therefore I can ban as many right-wingers as I want. That is the danger.
I think what we need to also consider as well, by the way, it's amusing you said that it's about Israel being different to any other country. I put it to you, I don't think it is. I just think it's more like the Western...
I said it was no different.
Yeah, I think the Western countries used to be more like Israel is now. It just so happens they've lost their way. Yeah. But look,
lost a spine.
Yeah, totally and honestly. Look,
I wonder if a.
But we haven't. The elites have. The people that have taken over.
I wonder if a Palestinian stabbed a Israeli 5 times in the chest, whether the Israeli police would come up and nick the Israeli guy for racism. I wonder.
No, I could tell you exactly what would happen. They wouldn't even get as far as stabbing them 5 times. They'd be shot dead before that happened.
Well, amen to that.
Thanks, Phil. That's Phil, Dave, going through all of the news with us. But stay with us because after the break, we're going to speak to a man, John H. Stracey. He was a former WBC welterweight boxing champion, but for this reason he's coming on. He's also a singer. He's done an England World Cup song. It's coming out. It's called 66 All Over Again, and you better like it because he's an ex-associate of the Cray twins. So we'll be back in 2 minutes with John.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Come on, you boys, let's make lots of noise. We're gonna do it for England. Let's go out to play.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If that doesn't get you in the mood, nothing will.
England!
OK, let's talk to the writer and singer and performer of that song, John H. Tracy. Now, you may well know him as a former boxing champion. He was the WBC welterweight boxing champion.
Left a bit, John, left a bit.
He's also a singer. He doesn't know how to adjust his...
Right a bit. Right a bit. That's your cupboard.
I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, that's it there. Stop.
Stop.
Okay.
OK, John.
All right.
He was obviously quite a good boxer because his nose is in good shape.
Right. So what we've worked out is the reason that John sent us the song rather than the video is he's not great with the camera.
He's
but
good
anyway,
now.
Anyway, John, tell us, first of all, why write a song for this World Cup? Are you excited? Do you think we're going to win?
Yeah, I think we've got a very good chance. Yeah, I can't see why not. But it was actually written, believe it or not, 16 years ago when it was South Africa.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Del Boy, you know, Fools and Horses a bit.
Yeah, and what happened was I did it then, and a friend of mine helped me. We got it together, but nothing ever really come of it. We didn't really do much. He was always working. I was always doing different stuff, so we left it. Yeah. And then just in February, coming on to March, with some friends we was having dinner with. Now, do you remember Michael Knighton? He tried to buy Man United.
I do.
Many years ago. Well, I was having dinner with him, with Kathy, my wife, and a guy called Chanel, who's a great friend of ours.
Jamal.
And I just happened to, we wasn't even talking about anything, but we're talking about then the World Cup. And I said, I wrote a song years ago. And they said, how does it go? So I sang the song, and Chanel said to me, that is brilliant.
Can I just check, were you all drunk at the time?
No.
This was before you had the drinks.
Thing that we wasn't.
That's good.
Otherwise, we
they're in the
probably
K-hole.
wouldn't have done it.
Well, that's fantastic.
Anyway.
So, go on, carry on. Sorry.
So the next thing was they put me on to a couple of people. A woman called Starry Ray, who's a great singer. She's country and western. And a guy called Mark Morgan, who's a manager. He's my manager now, and he's a great guy, really is. And everyone loved it, so that's how it came back.
So you've got you were associate of the Cray twins, weren't you? That's what it says on my sheet. So they had a lot of links.
They wanted to manage me at one time.
Yeah.
They wanted to manage me at one time.
As a boxer, when you were a boxer.
Yeah. Well, I was 16, going on 17.
But they had a lot of links to showbiz people, like, didn't they? Barbara Winds. Well, they loved the showbiz people. So have you got any connections from them?
They had a lot of connections, yeah. Well, I used to go to school with Gary Cray, who was the son of Charlie, the elder brother.
Yeah.
And I used to knock on the door. The mother, Violet, used to come out, and then we'd go to school.
In Valence Road? Was that?
In Valence Road.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what number it was. 178.
Yeah. Wow. But they, I remember they had some big American boxers over at their nightclub, didn't they? And so
they had lots of boxers over.
I met... sorry, carry on.
No, go on. Yeah, you carry on.
No, we used to have him on the show. We actually had Reggie on the phone once from, was it Parkhurst? But he got in trouble for that. But we used to have Roy Shaw on. Did you ever get involved with the illegal licensed boxing, like Lenny McLean, Roy Shaw? And
let me tell you something. Lenny McLean went to my school. He was a year older than me. Yeah. Lenny McLean. And the Cray twins went to my school as well. And Gary Cray, who's the son of Charlie, was in my class.
Wow. Well, I've got
very well.
I've got two claims to fame in boxing.
Go on.
Number one, I'm playing Gary Newbon in the new film about Watson versus Eubank. But also, my uncle was the junior welterweight Lonsdale belt holder. He won it in 1967. He won it in York Hall, which was the big boxing venue.
Yeah, York Hall.
I think we still broadcast.
So the offer is, John, do you want to fight him? Because it will promote your record. He's about 85 years old.
Because, fantastic.
You'll probably
Do you
win
know
it.
what? You talk about York Hall.
Yeah.
York Hall is the most frequented boxing hall in the world. There's more fights there than anywhere taking place in the world.
It's amazing because TalkSport Boxing, which I have to say you've got to subscribe to, the amount of free boxing on there is phenomenal. But a lot of it is from York Hall, because what you tend to have in boxing, and I don't know a great deal about boxing, but you tend to have, you know, the very big ticket retail, you know, is sort of, you know, 50 quid pay-per-view on Sky. But then you go to the next tier down, and actually it's very, very inexpensive.
Yeah. Well, York Hall is been the most frequented baths ever. And I remember boxing. I had my second amateur fight there. I had about 45 fights there as an amateur, and I had my first pro fight there.
What year was your first pro fight?
1969.
Was that against
September.
George's Warrisful?
No, it was 1969.
You got it wrong in Wikipedia then.
Yeah, no.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, you are a showman naturally. That's both the boxing and the singing. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer singing? I mean, look, I'm not being funny. Obviously, you have to be young. You have to be young enough to box. I'm not being disrespectful. But which do you prefer, the singing or the boxing?
Well, now I prefer the singing because obviously I retired. But when I was a young kid, I wanted to be a singer. I won a talent competition at Pontins when I was 11. And everything was going well. But my dad, because I was always fighting at school, coming from Bethnal Green, always causing trouble, my dad said, look, if you want to fight, I'll take you to a boxing club because that's all you're doing now. And my mum said, no, he wants to be a singer. But my dad said, listen, where we come from, how the hell can he be a singer?
Yeah, but your dad was right because you won 45 out of your 51 fights, so you picked the right career.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The Labour Club karaoke in Atherton, near where I grew up, combines both singing and boxing. I can guarantee you. As I said, one night somebody was singing badly and somebody ran in and bit his nose off. Right? That you can do both. But look.
That's not funny.
On a serious note, what do you hope to achieve by this record? Because obviously it's uplifting, it's fun, but there must be a serious purpose.
Is it for charity?
No, it's
just for your personal.
No, it just came about personal, and you know, some people said, "Oh, why are you doing a song?" But then it just, when Michael Knighton and Chanel said to me, "That's great," everybody's been saying how good it is. So that's.
By the way, there is one thing.
Maybe that's because they're scared of you because you were mates with the Cray twins and a boxing champion.
Careful.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going to say.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see.
The best song I've ever heard.
I'd like to see John Barnes have another crack at rapping, because that was a win. That wasn't it.
Have you done a video for it?
John Barnes.
Do you? You could have got him to do a rap in it. You could have got John Barnes to do a rap in it.
I mean, the awful thing about that was you know, was it singing for England?
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yes.
You've got to hold the ball.
It just shows you the 1980s. Get the black dude to do a rap, even though he had no ability whatsoever.
No, it was all right, and he could do that thing, didn't he?
I know John very well, actually. He's a great guy. He lives up by Liverpool.
Yeah, man.
So,
amazing.
That's great. Is there a B-side? Oh no, you don't get B. It comes out on Spotify.
No. So let's do the important bit. What is the name of the song? So we've heard the song, but what's the name of it?
It's called It's 66 All Over Again.
Right. So can I get this on my? On
Spotify, I believe, or
Deezer, all your best downloads. But the thing about this England side in the World Cup, people aren't. I like it because people aren't saying we're going to win. They're going, well, we've got a good team, but Brazil are probably better and Spain are better. So I think we might have a chance because I think we might have a good chance because we're not getting hyped up. We're keeping our heads, you know, we're keeping sensible, and we've got a better manager. We haven't got a bottler.
I know. I just hope that we have decent players. I mean, when I was a kid and we won the World Cup, we had Bobby Moore, Bobby Charlton,
Jimmy Greaves,
Jackie Charlton, Alan Ball, Jimmy Greaves. I mean, what was
that like?
Gordon Banks.
You know, the crowds are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. What was that like at at that time.
Fantastic.
Kenneth Woolston.
That was brilliant. Oh, yeah, yeah.
I met him once before an
was
FA Cup
amazing.
final. A great
I was
guy.
15 at the time when the World Cup was on.
In 66.
And I just, I'm a Spurs fan, so I followed Jimmy Greaves playing, but obviously he didn't play in
because he fell out, didn't he? He fell out with the manager.
He fell out.
He was the best top scorer, even though Jeff Hurst got a hat-trick.
I know Jeff Hurst, yeah. And I know Jeff, actually.
Do you like Jeff? He's not like Jimmy Greaves, is he? Like Jimmy Greaves was lovely, wasn't he? Nice, happy.
No. Jimmy Greaves was a wonderful
Great guy.
But let me tell you about Bobby Moore.
Go on, then.
I was actually born in the same hospital as Bobby Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a West Ham and England
without
hero.
being funny, with all due respect, John, was that the whole story? We were born
I
in the
was
same
waiting for the right. So with 30,000 other people.
Sorry.
No, what you mean? Are you the same age? No, you would be a bit younger, wouldn't you, than Bobby Moore?
I was 15.
Yeah, and he would have been about 20.
Yeah, but you think, but remember when you're 15 and you see a footballer, you think of them being a lot older than you, but they're only about 5 or 6 years, aren't they?
But did you go to any matches? Because you were obviously in London in '66 at 15. Did you go to the matches?
No, we couldn't afford to go them days.
But they were cheap. Football back then was cheap.
Well,
not cheap enough for Bethnal Green.
No, not Bethnal Green. I used to go over to Spurs.
Can I ask you one final question? We've lamented the loss of the East End of London, and there's been uncontrolled immigration and whatever. Do you feel that we've lost something culturally in places like the East End, Bethnal Green, and all that? Because that Cockney culture is gone, hasn't it?
It's gone, ethnically cleansed.
It's all gone, unfortunately. When I go back there, because I live on the Wirral now, but when I go back there,
that really is going down terrible.
It's not the same as it used to be. Nowhere near it. Unfortunately, that's just how it's gone.
Were the Cray twins football fans?
I believe so. Yeah, I think they
were they West Ham.
Orient.
Leighton Orient, right? Okay.
Could be. I don't know. Yeah. But Gary was my friend at school. I used to go to school with him. So
was he a West Ham fan?
We used to play football a lot.
Was Gary Cray a West Ham fan?
I'm not sure about that. No,
anyway, make sure you download 66 all over again.
He's coming in a couple of weeks to see us, so be nice.
Oh, I certainly am, and I'll talk to you about my career and what happened.
We'd love that. That would be really good, man.
All right.
Thanks, John. Well, we're going to go to the news now, but we're going to listen to more of John's record. You can listen to it on Spotify. 66 all over again. Could we be bringing it home? It doesn't mean that.
Come on, turn it up.
Turn it up. We're going to dance into the news.
We're going out there, we don't have no fear. With plenty of goals, watch the Lions score. Then everyone in England will stand up and roar. Come on, you boys, let's make lots of noise. We're gonna do it for England. Let's go out to play, show we're on our way. 'Cause we're gonna do
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is a paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. Mike, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. But it's been a pretty difficult week, I think, for a lot of the country.
It has. And before we go to the front pages, why don't we go through the week and just have a think about everything that's happened? I personally think that there has been a significant concern about the police racially discriminating against white kids. I appreciate they don't deliberately do it, but it's because of an effort to try and be so inclusive that they've actually gone so far the other way. I believe that all that has happened here is just we found a middle-class kid, a kid going to university, and it's an egregious example. I don't think that this is something that's massively different to anything that that we knew about before, or am I wrong?
It is very sad to see what has happened, and I think I'm glad that the police has apologised, and the Prime Minister even said that what has happened was sickening. I mean, I feel for the family first, because no family should have to go through what has just gone through, especially in the media out there. I mean, it's just horrible. And there are some really serious questions that need to be addressed.
You know, Andre says they don't deliberately do it, but we found the NPCC guidance. It is actually official policy to discriminate between...
So allow me to pick my words better. They don't think of themselves as racist.
Exactly, they're actually trained by the manuals, and it just becomes second nature to them. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like in North Korea. People, that they pretend so much that they love the leader that in the end they do. So it's the same with the police. They're so programmed with this thing that in the end it becomes their... And there's probably a niggling thought in the back of their mind where they know it's wrong, but their default position is to, well, in this case, arrest the white guy who's laying on the floor in agony, saying he's been stabbed and can't breathe.
I think the problem is common sense was not exercised. I think if I see someone who is distressed on the street...
but that's why it wasn't, because they're trained default.
Yeah, I mean, even if I see someone distressed on the street, putting aside my presumptions, yeah, someone had a good night out, maybe a bit drunk, but if someone's not well, my first duty of care is to look after them, even if they're on the right side, on the wrong side. And I think they did check up on him eventually after 3 minutes, but 3 minutes was 3 minutes...
Well, they possibly killed him because, you know, they did say he might die anyway, or they said he would die, although they're looking into that again. But he might have lasted 4 or 5 hours, or maybe not have died. They yet to find out. But they handcuffed him after he'd been stabbed in the chest, which would dislodge. I mean, I'm not a medical expert, but I know that when someone's in a serious, you don't move them, especially if there's veins or spinal cord injuries. You just don't drag them and handcuff their hands
and
behind
the point that we made earlier is I don't have any medical knowledge, and neither does Asher, but I don't think it's hard to imagine that if somebody's been stabbed in the chest 5 times and then you get them to put their arms behind the back, that therefore effectively would exacerbate any injury on the chest, wouldn't it? One would assume, because I mean, when I do it to myself, if I attempt to put my arms behind my back, it naturally puffs my chest out and stretches the skin, and if there was a hole there, that hole would become larger.
Well, and the other point about that is he was pretty much dead a few seconds after from the woman that I think it was a policewoman who said, well, his pupils aren't reacting, which is one of the signs of death. So they possibly hastened it. Terrell, anything else to say about this? Do you think it's a pivot point and things will change now?
I hope so. I mean, it's very distressing. You know, I was watching the video on the train, and I was trying to contain myself, but it's really hard.
What do you think about Nigel Farage? Because Starmer's saying he's using the family's grief. Well, that's actually what Starmer's doing at that point. And I think Nigel Farage was right to talk about the cold rage. Because it's what 90% of people feel.
So what did he say? White cold rage? Oh, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Newsnight made that up.
Yeah. And had to apologise today and take it off iPlayer.
I think the priority should go to the family at the end of the day, because I think what has happened is... See,
Mike, I've got to be honest with you. I strongly disagree with you on that point. And I'll tell you the reason. I made this point earlier. And I want to be, first of all, very clear. My thoughts, and as I say, my thoughts, but more importantly, my prayers are with the family. But this is a huge issue. This is an issue of a police force so hell-bent on political correctness that it has become racist against people. We don't know how many thousands of people have been wrongly accused of racism, which is like catching leprosy in our modern society because you are such a social pariah. And we don't know whether this is going to continue or whether it's going to stop. I think what we have to say is, with the greatest of respect and with the greatest of compassion, Mark Novak, we don't agree that this is something that should be looked at in a calm and measured way. We actually think that this is something that should rightly cause outrage and has caused outrage. And we are deeply concerned that it might be my nephew or my niece who is the next person to be murdered on the street on the grounds that you can get away with it if you accuse them of racism. That is a huge danger. And with respect, once again, and people are going to be critical of me for saying this, you know, Henry Novak is dead, right? Henry Novak is not going to cease to be dead. We now need to worry about the next kid that's going to be put in this position. And believe me, this very night, there will be kids walking down the street who've done nothing wrong, and somebody will pick up the phone and say, he called me the P word, he called me the N word, and those young people will have their lives destroyed because it's almost like a spell that you can weave on the police. If you phone up the police and go, oh, I've had a bit of an argument with my neighbour, oh, he called me the N word, suddenly they all stream into action. It's almost like a special privilege foisted upon
and it doesn't work the
people.
other way. Like when they do, if they stab, you know, and kill a white guy and it's racist, that won't come up in court. You know, like with the rape gangs, they were obviously racial. There was aggravating circumstances. You know, they were calling them white this and white that. That never came up and was an aggravating factor. It doesn't work one way. It only works the other way.
I think this is the problem. The problem is the policing has not been consistent. And when you don't apply
consistently two-tier. It is consistent, but it's two-tier consistent.
In terms of fairness, and when something's not consistent, it causes outrage. And I hear you, and this is a very serious concern.
When people, I mean, I don't care, but when people call me a gammon online, I mean, that is a piece of racist abuse. It is a reference to the fact that older white guys can go slightly red in the face. It is a reference to the colour of my skin, isn't it? I don't see how it could be anything else. It's a reference to pinkness in the face of an older white man. If you phoned up the police and said, I've been racially abused, I've been called a gammon, they'll put the phone down. I mean, I wouldn't do it because I don't care. But the point is, it's not consistent.
You can't be racist against white people,
let me tell you, if someone called me a gammon and I called them the N-word and we both reported each other, I would be going to court and that guy would not be.
Yeah. But they claim it's because our white people are in power, but actually in London they're the minority in lots of big cities.
By the way, can we just deal with this?
And it's irrelevant anyway.
Can you just deal with this? Where you go, a minority cannot be racist to the majority, right? So apartheid South Africa was not racist then, because the minority being the white community, subjugated the black community. That, according to Lee Jasper and Ken Livingstone, is not racism. Now, I think of all the regimes, P.W. Porter was one of the more famous racists in history. But
it's irrelevant.
It's nonsense. If you create a system where some people have more rights than others, and that is the position in Britain, then you have created at least to an extent created an apartheid system, and you have at least to an extent created a racist country. Yeah. Now you haven't done it to the extent that Adolf Hitler did. You haven't done it to the extent that the Palestinian Authority have. You haven't done it to the extent that the South Africans did. But it is a fundamental, irrefutable fact that if you are non-white, you enjoy more rights in the criminal justice system than you would enjoy if you were white. It's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, again, consistency is very important, and I think this is why the outrage has been prevalent, because the law has not been applied consistently, and I think anyone can be accused of racism. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a minority or a majority. If you say something that is racist, it is, and you know, we have legal systems to prove that. But I do accept that this has not been applied consistently, and this is why I think we need to look. This inquiry needs to be done properly, thoroughly and independently to actually see what went wrong.
But what if all the police officers say, what I would say, hey, listen, you told us to do it. You took the call. You told us we were there to arrest a white guy for racially abusing somebody. There was no mention of stabbing. There was no mention of anything. Also, you told us that we have to believe people. I mean, I remember I had a friend of mine, right, who was accused of, this goes out in the morning, who was accused of R-A-P-E, right? And at the end of the trial, when he was found not guilty, the police walked out and said, it's important for victims to understand they will be believed. No, it's important for people to understand they may not be believed, right? It's important in our society that if you wrongly accuse somebody, you will not be believed. But what has happened here is the spell has been cast on Hampshire police. The minute you say he's racially abused me, touched my turban, oh my God, grab your pearls, right?
I think I agree. I think people have lost and the authorities have lost the definition of innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that. We quickly jump into assumption that this person has done this thing, this person has done that.
And the vow of the police when you join, I think it's still in there, without fear or favour. I think that's part of the vow, so they're breaking their oath.
I mean, actually, what I would do is look at potentially firing a significant number of the police. I'll tell you what President Saakashvili of Georgia did. Listen to this, you will love this. At the end of the Soviet Union, when Saakashvili became president, he fired every single police officer in the country, knocked down every police station and rebuilt them out of glass and brought in new police officers. And he basically said, if you don't have good police acting in a free and fair way and a consistent way, you don't have anything at all. And I think that's the position that we're in now. All you have to do is mention the word racism. But by the way, I've got some news for everybody. Race is self-defining, right? You self-define.
Yeah.
Now, the police have quotas, right? The police have quotas. So if they arrest, like, one black guy, they've got to get 3 white guys, OK? Tell them you're a Vietnamese boat person, right? The number of Vietnamese boat people in the UK is nowhere near even 0.1%. So if every time you get pulled over by the police, they say, what is your racial background? And you say, I'm a Vietnamese boat person, then what we can do is we can get those numbers up, and the stop and search and stopping in the cars, they will now have major problems because they will be done for discriminating against Vietnamese boat people. That's what I always do, by the way.
Well,
I do.
Is that legal advice?
I tell them I'm an Inuit.
Inuits,
yeah.
Well, no. Look, if you are going to insult my intelligence,
works every time.
If you're going to insult my intelligence with a stupid question, I'll give you a stupid answer. Yeah. What is your racial background? My answer is Vietnamese boat person.
I got asked once if I was black.
No. On the serious note, if you can't look at me. If you give a toss what my racial background is, I object anyway. But B, if you look at me and can't tell, then I'll tell you I'm a Vietnamese boat person.
They asked me once, I said, are you black or white?
Should have said black.
I said, I don't know. So, the choice is yours. Depends whether I've been on holiday, doesn't it?
No, what you should have said, if they said, are you black or white, you should have said, I'm colourblind, I don't know.
Yeah, I do really. I still don't know. Anyway, let's go to the papers. It's Kyle today, isn't it? With breakfast alarm clock, Great Britain.
No, I'll tell you what we should do, Asher. Asher, look, it's quarter past.
What are you going to do?
Well, why don't we go to an early break?
OK, but let's give him a quick flash of the Soaraway Sun, and it's Prince Andrew with a bruised cheek.
Yes.
So don't go away. We'll be back with Prince Andrew's bruised cheek. What a shiner after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And we've got the front page of this on, Asher. But
In
why,
stereo.
Why has Andrew Mountbatten Windsor got a big
Well, the
shiner?
story is disgraced. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. By the way, Mountbatten does mean Battenberg, which means mountain. Sports, so they invented the Battenberg cake, so they're not all bad. He sports a mystery shiner yesterday as he faces bruising revelations of money grabbing. He pocketed extra income from subletting cottages at his Royal Lodge mansion in Windsor. Despite paying no rent himself for 20 years, a government probe has found the shamed ex-Duke, 66, was seen with a huge bruise on his cheek near his Norfolk. And well, it's obviously what's happened. King Charles has found out and gone, where's that money gone, sunshine? No, that's not what's happened, just to be clear. What do you think about Prince Andrew Shiner? What's happened to the poor guy?
Well,
has he fallen off his horse? Is that what's he?
Could be, but it does look quite a serious bruise.
It looks like he's had a left hand or
maybe he fell on his side, perhaps.
It looks like it could be a slap, though. It's right where someone would slap someone with the back of their hand. And has Prince Harry been over?
I'm not sure, actually.
They had a fight.
I have to say, before we go further on the general issue of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the Crown Estate owns Royal Lodge, and it rented it to him for one peppercorn per year, if claimed. And the fact that he sublet cottages for a large amount of money and pocketed it, not illegal, because he did rent the place, but may well have been against the terms and conditions.
Yeah, exactly,
But moreover, can you imagine getting a place for free from the taxpayer and then renting it out? It's so dodgy, isn't it?
It's not a good look.
Isn't that fraud, though?
No, I don't. It's probably not illegal. But it may well be against the... I mean, the problem is, if you breach the term of the lease, now you've been evicted, kind of what are they going to do, right? But I have to say, it's a pretty bad thing.
It's not a good look. It's not been going well for him, obviously, since everything's been going on.
The problem is with him, it seems to me, right, £250,000 a year sounds like a colossal sum of money, and it is. If all you are doing is using it for pocket money, if your whole social life is just literally having a drink with your mates at the local pub and going to these big state occasions that you're invited to as a prince, £250,000 is fantastic. You can live forever. It's brilliant. But the problem is with him, he was actually living with the jet set. So if you look at somebody like Prince William and Catherine, prime example, fundamentally, I know this sounds stupid, fundamentally they're an ordinary family who do an extraordinary job. You know, Prince William does not take his holidays on £1 billion yacht off the coast of Dubai. He just doesn't do that, right? He lives in the house that's been provided to him by the taxpayer. He sends his kids to a posh private school, not that unusual for middle-class people in Windsor, it has to be said, and then basically just lives a normal, sheltered life outside. So it's not as if he has to say, oh, you know, I need to fly first class to wherever. If he flies somewhere, he's doing it for his job. Whereas Prince Andrew was different. Yeah. Andrew was a party boy.
But also, you know, you look at the Queen and Prince Philip when they lived up north, you know, begins with B up in Scotland.
Balmoral.
When they were up in Balmoral, which was their own personal house, because Queen Victoria now and Albert bought it, they showed their kitchen. It just looked like any old person. They had cornflakes in this Tupperware. And it was all old stuff, you know. It was lovely to see that they're not like that. But, yeah, I mean, he goes to Tramp, doesn't he, where notoriously he doesn't sweat. Everyone else is sweating, but he doesn't. And there, I know, because someone... gin and tonic's £50. So, you know, £250,000 doesn't get you very far.
I think there's a lot of weird decisions that he's made in his life. And not the Jeffrey Epstein allegations. But as an example, right, imagine you were him. Right. So first of all, he's left the military. Why did he do that? I'd have stayed in the military my entire life. Because at the end of the day, look, let's be honest, as a 45-year-old, I know he's a lot older than that now, as a 45-year-old royal, you know, he's not going to be doing a lot in the military. It's all going to be palm pressing and shiz like that anyway, right? But then the other thing is that one thing that I would not do, right? I have lived in a number of enormous mansions in my life, and what I've done is, you know how they split them up into flats, right? So then what you get is you get all the gardens and whatever, but you don't end up, you know, going out with a lawnmower for 4 days a week or whatever. I cannot understand why somebody in his position didn't do what every other royal does, which is give me a 3-bedroom flat in Kensington Palace, central London, good place, lots of space. That Royal Lodge was a stupid idea. What does he need a 30-room mansion
He likes
for?
the high life, doesn't he? He likes the higher things in life.
And I think both Harry and Andrew would have been better served in the military. I think they would have gone very far in the royal family.
They didn't have to do very much.
Well, I mean, some of them did. I mean, Andrew served in the Falkland War.
Well, you say that. I mean, I know someone served with him. The guy, what's his name? Nick. I'll remember his name, but he served with him in the Navy, and he said basically he did a job. He flew helicopters and he would rescue troops who were in the water, or he'd take things around in the chopper. So I think Nick Reynolds. It was Nick Reynolds who was in Alabama 3.
Hang on a second. I think that's slightly unfair. First of all, some guy says whatever is slightly unfair. My understanding is...
confirmed by his commanding officer, who also
my understanding is that these guys in the helicopter were partially rescue helicopters, but that's mostly back in the United Kingdom. The aim was to confuse Exocet missiles into not hitting boats. And that means what you actually do is you put yourself in between boat and missile.
You can bet he didn't do that.
Well, but
they wouldn't be putting him in front of an Exocet.
Well, hang on a second. Well, look, let's be fair. He's received a medal for doing it.
Of course.
I don't think it's very likely that the actual job of helicopter pilots was not done by him, and he did some other alternative.
He wouldn't have been in danger like the others. You know, I know his commanding officer. He works here actually sometimes, and when I told him what Nick Reynolds had told me, he went, no comment, like with a knowing sort of. Well, they're not going to put him in danger.
Any job in the military has risks, as we have sadly learned. I mean, if you look at the main page here as well, the 3 military men and women who sadly perished.
Yeah, they're real heroes.
And that was in training as well, so it wasn't actually on active exercise. So when you do sign up for the military, there are risks. You know, you might die in training.
I remember 3 SAS trainers died in just training in the I think it was Snowdonia, just because of the heat.
To go for that, for him to go through that, and Harry to go through that as well, fair enough. You know, you are putting your life at risk.
I have to say one thing. I object to the suggestions that his medals should be taken off him.
Yeah, no, of course.
I agree. It was way before all the allegations began or even happened, and, you know, he earned them, so I don't see why they should have been taken off him.
And I think it's also important to bear in mind that his medals are service medals. I don't think he got anything for valour or anything like that. He literally got them as service medals.
For turning up.
But I do want to... well, turning up in a war is a big thing. But there is one other thing I want to say. There is a really odd situation with the Victoria Cross. Originally, the Victoria Cross was going to be an Order of Chivalry, like the Order of the British Empire, but in the end it became a medal. As a result of it being partly an Order of Chivalry and partly a medal, you can lose it if you behave in a way that is considered unbecoming. So that is to say, you can win a Victoria Cross, and then if you're convicted of any criminal offence later in life, you lose the Victoria Cross, and that has happened. I would get rid of that. I would turn round and say, look, you know, whatever you do in life, if you were in the Falklands, you deserve the Falklands Service Medal. If you did something so meritorious that you deserve the Victoria Cross, which Andrew didn't, then you get the Victoria Cross. And if later you get done for shoplifting, it's irrelevant to the medal. I don't believe... Now, that's very different to an Order of Chivalry, like the Order of the British Empire, but I do think that the Victoria Cross should not be taken off somebody. Because the idea that somebody's going to run into gunfire, save their entire platoon, and then, you know, one night get done for drunk and disorderly and lose the Victoria Cross over it, I think is silly.
Most Victoria Cross winners are dead.
Indeed.
When they get it.
Yeah, and I think, again, the consistency element needs to be applied. If there's an award or an honour that should only be given posthumously, that should be honoured, or otherwise it loses its value.
Of course.
Yeah, and by the way, the other thing about the Victoria Cross, every single one of them that has come up for auction since 1987 has been bought by the same person, Lord Ashcroft, and they're all in display in the Imperial War Museum. I've got to be honest with you, Lord Ashcroft, I know you're a good bloke.
Lord Richard Ashcroft.
But that gallery is the most boring thing I've ever... Because it's just a load of the identical medals. It's the same medal. Like, this is...
And they're even made from the same cannon.
Yeah, they are.
And then they go, because it's Ashcroft, Bittersweet Symphony's playing in.
It's got nothing to do.
No, nothing to do with that. The Daily Express, Kate shares in mum's joy. Princess of Wales claps with joy as young mum Claire Lorente rings the bell at the end of cancer treatment. Fantastic. Catherine congratulated a surprised Claire 30 as she marked the emotional chemotherapy. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? So she's been cleared of cancer, gets to ring the bell at the place, and then Kate comes in. It's like a fairy tale. This was at the Christie Hospital in Manchester, hugging tearful Claire and husband Pablo. The princess said, "Well done, you what journey." That's better than Bill Clinton turning up at your wedding.
I've got to be honest with you, she's genuinely happy. Now, look,
she does,
we don't know...
Well, she would know how it feels.
We don't know precisely what Princess Catherine did, but we know that she had some pre-cancerous cells and she had to have an operation on the abdomen.
Yeah.
Frankly, without being funny, you can guess what that is just off those details. But anyhow, look, she's really happy. And I think it's a really funny thing, actually, because it's exactly the same as with James Whale. It was awful that James Whale had cancer for all those years, but it did help society. A, raise loads of money for charity, but B, by talking about it, helped a lot of other people in their fight against cancer. So it's a really weird thing, isn't it?
And it is difficult to share your medical records publicly. You know, it's a private thing normally, but to say publicly that you have had cancer and then to try and live your life normally afterwards, and it is very difficult. So
yeah, we've got to wish well to the... I think there's 3 footballers who've been diagnosed with cancer this week. John Barnes, Kenny Dalglish, and Kevin Keegan, maybe, we think. But yeah, so good luck with their cancer treatment. Do you know what I always say about cancer? Most important thing you've got to bear in mind. This is what happened to James Whale. People thought James Whale was taking the mick in the end because he lived for that long. When they say you've only got 6 months to live, that's based on the treatment that's been approved today. On Monday, new treatment gets approved. Every single month, new treatments for cancer get approved in the United Kingdom.
And they can be wrong anyway with 6 months. They often are. It's a very, grey area. They don't know. I mean,
so you've got to keep...
Well, I think you've got to keep the positive will to carry on every day, no matter how difficult it is.
Yeah. James did that. He'd turn up to the show really right up until the end, and it was like a tonic for him. Anyway, we've got to take a little break.
Yep.
We're with our friend Mike Salem. It's Salem's Lot. We're going through...
Salem's Lot. Very good.
Through... Do you like that? Yeah.
Very good. Great movie. I've watched it as well. Yes.
Yeah, isn't it scary? If you're listening in the morning, Mark Dolan is going to be here, not Jeremy Kyle, as I advertised earlier. Yes, that's right. Thanks, guys, for your show that's not as good as mine. 0344 499 1000. I do a lot more revision than you. Thanks, Mark. Get out. You got your show in half an hour. It's Andre and Ash. We'll be back with Salem's Lot and the papers in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And, yeah, Mike, you had something that you thought was going to be a big piece of news, perhaps in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I thought it might be worth mentioning. I don't think the papers had time to cover it in time, but Trump will be announcing 12.5% tariff on 60 countries. The UK is one of them, over forced labour. That's his reasoning.
And what is it at the moment, then? Nothing?
At the moment,
10%?
well, at the moment, the Supreme Court said it's unlawful to do that. Right. So, as a response to that, he said, "Okay."
He used a different way, didn't he?
Indeed.
Yeah.
So,
levying taxes has to be approved by Congress, which he hadn't done, and therefore he's had to come back with a different mechanism.
Yeah, and he's citing concerns over forced labour. So.
What is the specifics of the allegation against the UK? Are there any details on it?
Not in specifically, but you know, the point is we import Chinese products which you know are being produced under forced, and you know of course
look at electric cars. I mean, they send kids down mines to get these rare earth minerals in Africa.
Yeah. And you know that's
Chinese, obviously. You know they've bought Africa, haven't they?
How do you, Mike? Just a matter of interest, and forgive my ignorance here, but I'm still struggling to work out how do we know where a product comes from. So, as an example, you know, if I buy a ready meal from Marks and Spencer's or anywhere, you know, you've got spices from India, you've got chicken from probably the Netherlands, you've got pasta that might have been made in Italy, you've got how do we work out what
peas from Portugal?
If
I made that ready meal in the UK and exported it, what is the country of origin?
Yeah, I mean the supply chain nowadays in the globalized world has become very diverse. So you know you might actually do a salad in the UK, but the tomatoes will be from Italy. You know,
but when they put it together, they can just put the Union Jack on. You know what I mean?
So when you bring it all together, and then it's said made in the UK, so that's the value added to it. And you try and source the cheapest products because you try and keep your product as low as possible so you can compete with the market. Now, China is a big producer, so many things that we buy come from China. So, I mean, Trump knows that, which is why I think he's imposed this tariff to sort of try and get these countries to negotiate again.
I'm going to make a comment which, on the face of it, is going to sound stupid, but I mean it as a very serious point about global economics. Right? If I want to make a roast dinner for my family, I'll tell you where I source the ingredients. Tesco. Right. Now, the reason I make that point is because there's very, very few people, unless you're talking about something that might be quite sophisticated engineering, who do anything other than go to their supplier. Right, you know, if as an example, if as an example I wanted a printer, I would go to the guys who supply ink in the UK, I would go to the guys who supply paper in the UK, and I would go to the guys who supply printing machines in the UK. The fact a cog was made in Bangladesh is not something that's going to be on my radar, and so I just wonder. I mean, if as an example, you know, let me think about this. If the cornstarch in the gravy that I made for you came from the United States of America or it came from China, how would I know and why would I care? But of course, when you then start talking about putting tariffs on products, then it becomes almost impossible.
Exactly, and I think he's done it on purpose because his real game plan is to impose tariffs and try and reset things again. And you know, if he cares so much about forced labour in China, he was in China on a state visit 2 weeks ago. Why didn't he raise that issue? But he didn't. So I think this is just a mechanism for him to try and leverage that tariff situation again.
One thing that worries me, Mike, about Donald Trump and his tariffs is, first of all, look, I have some sympathy with saying, OK, you've put tariffs on me, I'm going to put tariffs on you, I'll drop mine if you drop yours.
Mate.
But I can understand that. But it sounds like Donald Trump quite likes the money as well. So look, if you were putting a 60% tariff on my cars, I would go, right, screw you, I'm putting a 60% tariff on the products that we import from you, in the hope of dropping the tariffs.
Yeah.
Donald Trump seems to quite like the tariffs and thinks he wants the money.
Yeah, and I mean, that
worries me.
Yeah, I think tariffs are very effective as destabilizing things, but they are inflationary, so the cost will pass on to consumers. We will all feel it, and even when we retaliate, because if we retaliate, we're exporting less things, which means we're not earning as much. So if we're going to put it in basic terms, retaliatory tariffs might look good politically, but economically we all do feel the burden.
Of course, the slight problem with tariffs, particularly for somewhere like the United Kingdom, is the assumption that there's an alternative. So if you go, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will put on a 60% tariff on all mobile phones from China. But there are no mobile phones that are not from China. I mean, OK, some iPhones are not from China.
Well, no, they are made in China.
Not very many.
I mean, the thing is, that's the point he's making. If we started doing our own tellies, they wouldn't be 400 quid, they'd be £4,000. So when I grew up, everything was made in Britain. The cars were made in Britain, your kitchen utensils were made in Britain, your food, a lot of it was grown in Britain. Everything, your stereo was actually made, your TV was made in Britain. And now we don't even have, if we wanted to bring it back, we couldn't. We haven't got the skills. China's got millions of people with micro skills, and we can't compete now.
This is why if you want to put up tariffs and encourage made-in-Britain products, you've got to deregulate, you've got to encourage the market to compete, to create, and make our own products that can compete against these things. Because at the moment, if we want to produce...
We've got the skills, though. We can't do... We've got millions of people who do micro
We've got to train
electronics.
People, but we don't do that.
But we couldn't train the amount of people. They've done it over 50 years, the Chinese, and they've got millions of people in factories that can use and do these micro, circuitry.
Specialisation, yeah. Well,
but if you look at the textile industry of Lancashire, what happened... First of all, we brought unskilled labour over from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and very quickly, said unskilled labour, or at least a percentage of them, worked out that they could make the garments cheaper in Pakistan and Bangladesh, which is why you've got things like Primark, where you can buy a T-shirt probably without slave labour, probably without child labour for £2, because it's quite a simple design and whatever. Look, that is part of the market. I don't believe that children's clothes should cost 20, as Asher said, should cost 20 times as much because we want to make them in Lancashire. But we are reliant on things. And what worries me is the only thing our economy seems to ever produce is financial services. And I worry, and Mike, maybe I'm wrong about this, that what we are is a country with nothing in it other than owning the financial capital of the world.
Well, indeed. I mean, London accounts for 22% of the country's GDP. So,
wow.
There's clearly something wrong there. I mean, obviously, it's great that London's producing so much. I welcome that. But obviously, the rest of the country also needs to produce. And we have relied on financial services. And I think it's just time for us to encourage production in the UK. We need to let the government to have a laissez-faire approach, hands-off business, hands-off industry, allow us to actually create businesses.
But there have been some notable successes. So there are some, as an example, let me think of two really good but very different examples. Specialist manufacturing in things like aerospace. Remember the £40 million military export to Israel, which I'm convinced is like 4 bolts that go on an F-15 fighter. But that specialist engineering in Airbus, within Airbus and outside of Airbus, remains a big thing. But there is a new industry which I think is really, really exciting. And it is English sparkling wine.
Oh, yes.
Which now companies like Nye Timber have literally started beating the French at their own game. By the way, many of these companies are being bought up by the French. But the reason I give the example of English sparkling wine as a great industry for us to think about is because it's low volume, high margin. Yeah. Right? So look, at the end of the day, it's not the cheap plonk that's 50p. A bottle of Nye Timber, I think, retails for about £35 a bottle. It's money at that. It's not a bargain.
It's exactly the same soil as the Champagne region, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
but when we're talking about that, that is not us competing to make the 5 for a pound lighters, which we're never going to defeat the Chinese on. But when you're talking about high quality, small volume products, we should be thinking about those.
I mean, the French are buying up land. French winemakers are buying up land in the UK as the weather gets warmer. They are tempted by the prospect, and there are a few industries like that. You look at the aerospace. Buckinghamshire is quite good at that.
Yes, that's right.
The F1 stuff, you know, motor racing, you know, we are the home of most F1 clubs.
Well, also, it has to be said, satellite technology.
Indeed.
Inmarsat was made very famous by MH370. But the UK aerospace industry is absolutely huge.
Well, F1, I mean, we're still the best automotive. Ferrari buy components from us all, and they're all from little workshops in like the Black Country and up north. And these are making the cogs for the Formula One cars.
Exactly.
And it's the same with audio equipment. We make the very best high-end stuff, and that's what we need to concentrate on, because we're not going to be able to compete with the Far East.
And the biggest industry, of course, that we have as well is filmmaking.
Money laundering.
Filmmaking. So, you know, 23% of movies made last year were filmed in Buckinghamshire.
Is that because of tax reasons?
Exactly, but that's the point that I'm talking about, is because we give a tax break. We have, you know, tax regimes here that attract people away from Hollywood into the UK.
I have to say to you, that long-term thing, which David Cameron and George Osborne were keen on, the EIS, tax deductions and whatever for filmmaking, when I made this film about boxing, it's an independent production made by Magnificent Films, which is an independent company, but they happened to be filming at Longcross, which is the former Household Cavalry tank, I don't know, training place or whatever. What Netflix are building there is simply astonishing. So there's Longcross North and Longcross South, which are two different campuses to make films on. I will tell you, I got dropped off at reception at Longcross South, I think it was, and it took me 25 minutes to walk to the studio that we were filming in. Just vast, you know, Star Wars and all this going on. You know, the amount of money being made by the UK film industry. And it's these big films. We were filming in the studio that had previously been used by Tom Cruise to do all of his practice for Mission Impossible. It's all made in the UK.
And Hollywood's on its back now. It's just the studios are empty.
Indeed. And now we've got, you know, Marlow Film Studios, for example, in Buckinghamshire, which have got planning permission, and they're building on that, and it's going to generate £1 billion in the local economy.
Paramount,
regeneration. And you've got Bedfordshire as well. We've got some great
Bray Studios have had a massive expansion. You'll remember them from the Hammer Horror.
Oh, well.
Yeah, look,
Indeed.
But once again, creative. I mean, look, the UK has always been huge in the creative industries, whether that be music, whether that be film or whatever. But you know, there's a big gap between Passport to Pimlico and what we're doing now. I mean, I don't think the British film industry was on its backside for probably about 30 years. But it was
still going. Ealing Studios, I think, isn't it?
Just about.
Yeah.
Much diminished.
Not being Passport to Pimlico.
I think the reason why Ealing Studios are not Ealing Studios anymore is because Ealing's not as out of town as it was in the 1950s.
And the BBC owned it for quite a long time, but now I think it's independent.
But there are industries like that.
Indeed. And we need to encourage them by, you know, allowing them to flourish and not choking on them by, you know, increasing taxes or complicating regulation, making it harder to employ people. So, you know, if you introduce employer national insurance contribution, then you hike it up. You're not going to encourage people to...
Let's just be clear. What we did with the British film industry, straight up, was we allowed people to tax deduct the whole thing. So that means if you invest £1 in a British film, it's 100% tax deductible, which means if you're a 40p taxpayer, you would have got 60p, but instead you've got £1's worth of shares in the film. Now, look, some people will say the taxpayer lost out on money, but when you start looking at the place that you've listed, the place that I've seen, the government getting out of people's pockets, British people are able to stand on their own 2 feet. We're not all just, you know, social workers or deserving cases of social workers.
We're pioneers. We excel in excellence. You know, no country has invented more, and the Industrial Revolution, the modern world, the World Wide Web comes from... Anyway, we've got to take a break. There's so much we could list.
Hey, by the way, that the hyperlink, which was invented by what was it? Tim Berners-Lee.
Sir Tim Berners-Lee.
The hyperlink remains one of the most important inventions of our lifetime. You can click on the word and it goes to another web page.
And he gifted it for free. Anyway, it's Salem's Lot. We're going through the papers. Mark Dolan is after the news if you're listening in the morning. Yes, that's right. 0344 499 1000, because it's all about your calls in the next portion. It's me and Andre. We'll be back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, I have got my phone out, and the reason is because Asher and I, put so much good stuff on social media. You really should follow it at Virtual Ash.
At Andre JP Walker.
And also, please do follow Talk itself on Twitter. The Twitter feed is quite a good way of doing it. You can you just search Talk TV.
Have you got one?
I do. I added you both beforehand to try and encourage people to watch us tonight. So
what is it? Show the dog and the rabbit. What is it?
What my Twitter?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
You don't even know your own Twitter.
Well, it's my full name, Mike Salem, and then 001. I wanted 007.
But why did you have to look at your phone if you knew it?
Well, I thought I wanted to show you like that, but show my nice...
You can show us if you want.
I wanted to show you my photo in New York. I quite like it.
Oh, you've been in New York?
Yeah, I was in New York.
When were you in New York?
I was there in November last year.
Tell us about it, because was Mamdani, he wasn't there.
It was a week before he got elected, so that was me on
So people were
7th
optimistic.
Avenue.
That's
yes,
lovely.
yeah, very nice.
There he is.
So yeah, I very much enjoyed it, and they love British people. So you know, they love us. They think we're clever. You know.
I know.
I've noticed.
Oh, I love your accent.
I've noticed how, in America, there's not the same culture of taking the pee out of people that there is in Britain. Right, they're always really nervous about saying something stupid.
Yes.
Because they think of us as culturally superior. Right. Now look, they know they've created the richest and most powerful country on earth, but individually we do intimidate them. It's quite
They don't have our heritage.
Well, I mean, we have a lot in common. I've never been to the West Coast, but the East Coast, oh, goodness me, I mean, it feels like I'm in in England. It's
when
incredible.
you go by the Twin Towers, there's an old church that was right opposite, and it's just an English church from 1800s. I mean, and the graveyard in it, right opposite the Twin Towers. Well, obviously they're not there anymore, but the churches, it survived. The Daily Star, the grand old brews of York, and this is again that story. He's got a shiner. Andrew Mountbatten, a Windsor. Kerching, Andy Windsor sports a shiner. As it's revealed, he made a fortune renting out Royal Lodge cottages while paying a low rent. Cops are investigating his links to sex trafficking.
By the way, somebody's having a go at me about Star Wars. Let me just tell you one thing. Right. Darth Vader, whichever way you look at it, was a black former slave who with a disability, right? He had no arms and legs. He was born into slavery and he was black, right? And he was made the second most powerful man in the Empire, and also got a peerage, Lord Vader.
Indeed.
And also, he was the Green Cross Code man. We had him on the show once. John, what was his name? John. Anyway, he was the Green Cross Code man. They said they'd use his voice, George Lucas, but he had David Prowse, but he had a Bristol accent, so he was like, use it, and he goes, yeah, don't worry, we're going to use your voice. And he went, they didn't use his voice.
Okay, so the gallery is saying he was white underneath. Listen.
You can't say that.
Anakin Skywalker was white. Darth Vader was black. Right? A, his face was black, and B, his voice was the
helmet, wasn't it?
His voice was the voice of a black man.
It was like
right?
he had a bucket on his head.
But in any case, if you are not on the side of the Sith, right? Oh, the Jedi. Oh, we're this order of elitists. Oh, come on. Right. Bear in mind. Let's just be clear on one thing. The Jedi were almost all human, whereas in fact the Empire was a much more diverse place than the Jedi, sort of Republic. Also, let me just be clear. Clearly, people were promoted on merit, because whilst the Jedi were elitist, Darth Vader had come from nowhere.
He was just misunderstood. Did you
ever see that multicultural bar they all went in, and they were all the different aliens?
The Cantina band. Yeah, that's quite good.
It got good fun, didn't it? If only that's how multiculturalism works.
My favourite fake pub was, remember the pub in Battlestar Galactica with the three-boobed woman?
Was it? Oh, that was in that Schwarzenegger, Total Recall.
No, I thought
it's probably
it was the three-faced woman that was
that might have been
Battlestar.
The three-breasted woman's in Total
Yeah,
Recall.
that's right.
We also had tariffs in Star Wars as well, so it's very representative of what's going on.
As I say, the Emperor gave a peerage, a seat in the House of Lords, to a disabled black former slave, Darth Vader.
Well, how tolerant of him.
Absolutely right. absolutely right.
And Buck Rogers, the robot, had a speech impediment going.
And also, can I tell you something else?
Equal opportunities.
Tell you something else. Think about this, right? He was not the Right Honourable, the Baron Skywalker of Tatooine. He was Lord Vader, which means he was at the very least a Viscount, right? And we also know it's a hereditary peerage because if his son kills him, his son inherits the peerage, right? So look, he's given him a hereditary peerage.
Incredible. You've given it a great deal of thought. I love it.
I'm giving it.
You know, Alec Guinness.
Can you imagine he was actually Anakin Skywalker, the Right Honourable, the Viscount Vader of Tatooine.
Yeah, well.
Do you know Alex Guinness, who was in the film notoriously, he didn't really want to do it, and he said, all right, I'll do it, but, you know, I'll have to have a percentage. He got like 2% of the whole film, so he made more than he ever did in his career from Star Wars. And that's when Marlon Brando decided to do Superman, because he saw our... Alec Guinness use the Force, Luke. Anyway,
I thought what's his name did a brilliant impersonation of him. What was his name? Oh, Train Spotting Kid.
Oh,
he didn't. Ewan McGregor.
That's it. Yeah,
he does. Yeah,
because he had to play Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ben
right.
Kenobi.
Oh, right. Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Right. Okay. Let's go. Look, I just want to say one thing because we are talking about all of the issues around the by-election. We're not going to go into the by-election in any great detail. Can I just say one thing as a matter of principle? I do believe that they should have allowed Restore into that debate on Question Time. And I'll tell you the reason. It is very, very difficult because in any by-election, there's loads of candidates, right, and you've got to be fair to all of them. But at the moment, Restore are polling third. Now, there's only been 2 polls, and the polls may well be wrong, and I just want to beg you one thing. Vote with your conscience if you're from Makerfield. Vote with your conscience. Do not vote on what the opinion polls say, but it is a bit silly to put somebody in who's into Question Time who's polling at 1%, and by the way, that guy did pretty well, but somebody who's polling at 1% and leave out somebody who's polling at 8%.
Right, I've got to go through the candidates. So we got Jake Austin from the Lib Dems, Count Binface from the Count Binface Party, Andy Burnham Labour Party, Dan Clark Libertarian Party, John Dyer Independent, Ed Gemmell Climate Party, Paul Gould, no relation Independent, Alan Howling Lord Hope, the official Monster Raven Looney Party, Robert Kenyon Reform UK, Robert Pownell, Protect the Wild, Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Sarah Wakefield, Green Party, Peter Ward, Rejoin EU, Michael Winstanley, the Tory Party. See what you've made me do?
By the way, I will tell you one thing that is amusing. I knew. Do you know how the BBC always on Question Time go, we are here in, and they go, the University of Sussex.
Yes.
Well, they couldn't say that last night. Well, of course, you know the reason for that. Because half of these people have got geographical names, right? So the Conservative candidate, Michael Winstanley, has got no connection whatsoever to the venue, which is called Winstanley College in the village of Winstanley, where the Winstanley family come from. And you know, because some people are stupid, they will have thought that, they went to his actual place of business or something. But anyway, it's fair to say that some of them. But look, I want to be serious about that. I think it was a great shame. Clearly, not every candidate can appear on absolutely everything, and we do. Asher and I do oppose the Ofcom rules because we think they are overly draconian. But there you have it.
It's not even online, so it's
Indeed.
ridiculous.
I think it would be good for the BBC to explain the rationale, or perhaps put their guidelines publicly, just publish them and say
I'm sure what they're going to say.
Yeah.
I'm sure what they're going to say is this. 2 things. Number one, I think the BBC don't go by opinion polls. I think they will say, we've gone by who did well last time in Makerfield and who did well in the last parliamentary by-election, which was in Gorton and Denton. And therefore, if you didn't run in either of those 2, I think you would not have been considered.
So you're right. I think I remember now. They mentioned something about previous results, including locals.
Because the opinion poll might well be wrong.
But then you can sample it. If you look at Great Yarmouth, well, it was a Restore pretty much demolition. So, you know, if you're looking at that
that's not parliamentary.
Anyway, look, we've got to just say goodbye to the morning people. Mark Dolan is coming up, next. Yes, join me after the news. Anyway, we're back in the room.
By the way, the funny thing is somebody's got in touch saying, my God, Longcross didn't know there was anything there. Neither did I. I used to live in Ascot and I used to get the train and I used to think, what goes on in Longcross? Because it was just this train station. But of course, there's this massive Netflix thing. I mean, I wasn't working for Netflix, but it's amazing. And I mean, amazing that they're investing so much money.
Any final thoughts, Mike? We've got 30 seconds. Come on.
Vote with your conscience. Oppose tariffs. Keep your money, save it, invest it. You know, it's a pretty tumultuous world. Let's stay grounded, keep common sense, and don't get reactive.
Mike Salem, thank you so much. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Are we doing the Asher? Call Asher?
Oh, yeah, call. You can ask me any advice on anything, DIY, health, love, and Matthew Burke from America are coming up talking about Trump. Matthew Hurt, sorry. But stay with us, 03444991000. It's all about your calls and the odd guest. Back next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and we've got a little segment now where we're going to talk a little bit about American politics. And what is the name of our guest? I can't find it here. It's Matthew Hurt. I do apologise, Matthew. I think it's his first appearance.
Very hurtful.
It's his first appearance with us. He's a US Republican strategist. How terribly rude of me to start off with. I hope your feelings have not been hurt.
He'll be hurt.
Okay, so Matthew, look. Mike Salem's just been in the studio and he's just been talking about the fact that there are these tariffs that are going to come in on the United Kingdom. Look, you know, you are aware of this show. We are generally supportive of President Trump. We believe that the way he has pushed NATO into higher spending has been a good thing. The way that he's tried to lock off China is a good thing. But where do you see the end game of these tariffs? Because what we would like to see is for there to be free and fair trade across the world. That means that American workers are not undercut. But fundamentally, we don't want these tariffs to be a long-term thing. And the fear is that Donald Trump is addicted to the money.
Well, you're absolutely right, Andre. The question is, what is the end game for these tariffs? at the beginning of this conversation, when President Trump came back into the White House last January, it was to make other countries scale back their tariffs. I do think the president is addicted to the money, but consumers are the ones who pay tariffs. British consumers pay tariffs on imports into your country. American consumers pay tariffs on the imports into our country. Those costs are passed on to the consumer, and so it's very important for the president to understand these were sort of retaliatory at the beginning, but by the end of this term, I think that he should scale these back for the good of all economies.
We all lose, basically.
One of the things that the GOP has failed to do, and actually I'd be critical of the American embassy and the State Department as well. When we left the European Union, the opportunity to drop our food bills by importing more from the United States of America, and people forget, the biggest industry in the United States of America is farming. People forget that. We had a huge opportunity, and because of this ludicrous situation arguing about chlorine chicken, we never saw that. Now, look, I appreciate that American farmers are going to undercut British farmers because of economies of scale. It doesn't make British farmers bad. I think as a matter of national security, we should subsidise those farmers and then allow the cheap imports to come in. It seems to me what that does is secures your national security, i.e. make sure you still have a farming industry, even though it's difficult for them to compete. But you also get the benefit of those cheaper prices. And there are some products where the price would absolutely drop through the floor if we allowed more American imports. Why isn't the Trump administration as hot on this as perhaps you or I would be?
Well, what happens in many countries, I was just in Canada a few weeks ago, and I was told I would be arrested if I brought a gallon of milk across the border. There are agricultural industries in your country and in mine that seek to protect by law their industries, and so I suspect.
But that's for microorganisms. It's like Australia don't allow any foreign flora fauna because it can cause infections and stuff like that.
Well, sure. Plants, milk, dairy products, even
natural
animals.
products.
I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. The Biden administration paid millions of dollars to pig farmers in Iowa to kill their crops, to kill their pigs, because of the amount of use that was being undertaken in the United States. It is a backwards policy that every country engages in at some level, and I guarantee, just like there is in the United States, there are rules and regulations that prevent the wholesale importing or exporting of agricultural.
Well, we'll never forget
products.
You banned our beef. You banned our beef.
I'll tell you one thing that frustrates me. When you're talking about chlorine chicken, now my own view, by the way,
it's quite tasty.
Is you know, you should have the right to choose whatever you want. And I think one argument I've got with the United States of America, I think the way our approach to food labelling is far better. To just say, well, you can sell all this stuff, but it has to be properly labelled. But I think it's perfectly reasonable. Now, first of all, chlorine bathing chicken is only like going to a swimming pool, and also it's done to prevent salmonella. Also, the EU insists on chlorine bathing of salad. So actually, even though we don't do it for chickens, we do it for salad. But my point is this: you could import this chicken and simply put product of the United States of America on the label, and then let ordinary consumers. What we're really talking about, Mike, when we're really talking about, Matthew, is when we don't want consumers to have a choice. We want to force them to pay for more expensive products from France. But at one point, your average British consumer was paying 20% more for their groceries than they would have done if we were buying stuff from the United States of America.
You are absolutely right. I envision and support a world where, particularly with the United Kingdom, Great Britain, where we have this special partnership, this special relationship that certainly we're recognizing in the 250th anniversary of the United States this year.
It's not going very well at the moment, though, is it? With Starmer.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense to have. I know Sir Keir Starmer and of course Peter Mandelson, but it makes sense to have and continue this special relationship and provide the choice for consumers here in the U.S. and in Great Britain. It makes absolute sense. Unfortunately, the policymakers in Washington and in London.
Can I change the subject ever so slightly now on NATO? So. I'd be interested in your opinion on this. It seems to me the following. Look, and I've said this before. the United States of America and the Soviet Union are about 8 miles apart or whatever. The other way round, if you remember on your map, the map folds backwards, and people always forget that. Which is why all of the missile silos are in like Idaho or whatever. They're not going to be in Yonkers, New York, right? Because that's not the way the missiles fly. But the majority of the Soviet population is in Europe, not in Siberia. Ergo, when there was this great rivalry between the United States of America and the Soviet Union, there was a real need for the United States of America to pay for European security. It seems to me now that for NATO to work for the United States of America, it has to be a fair deal. That is to say that Europeans, including the United Kingdom, step up to the plate with things like the Straits of Hormuz, and the United States of America will step up to the plate with things like the protection of the Baltic states and the containment of Kaliningrad. Now, also, there is a huge benefit of NATO, which is that the United States of America gets an enormous amount of military equipment sold to Europeans. But
NATO standard.
But my question, which has been quite long-winded, is this. Is it realistic for the Baltic states to expect the United States of America to invade? If there were to be an invasion of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia only, you know, given that we haven't supported the United States of America in the Middle East, could any president realistically go to their populace and draft kids from Alabama to go and invade Riga, a place they've never heard of and don't really care about?
Add a little caveat to that, because the reason they love NATO is because of the NATO standards. They have to buy the same weapons, the same ammunition, and where does that come from? America.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you know, the big thing, a couple of months ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio came to Europe and basically laid out this grand vision for a renewed Europe. And I have really high hopes that European nations will step up and add more to the defense. I think what we've seen is with the proliferation of U.S. military bases and military forces on the ground across Europe, propping up socialist economies.
But they're pulling
in Germany
out, aren't
and
they?
France and other places.
And Germany, they're going to be pulling out, and Germany are expanding their army. Nothing to worry about there.
Well, look, I think we can learn from history, and even on the other side of the world, in Japan, I think the United States should be a little more forgiving when the Japanese government wants to expand its military presence. But it's important, and we have made an agreement to partners across Europe to engage at a certain level when there's a threat, and I think it is important to keep that promise. I think we can be America first in the United States and secure our interests without going back on the promises that we've made through treaties and through NATO and other agreements over the years. And I think it's very important as the firewall for Western civilization, which Europe is, the firewall for Western civilization, it is in America's interest to defend when necessary and to provide material support in situations like what's happening in Ukraine.
Yeah, now let's go on to Israel and Lebanon. I have to say to you, I'm incredibly frustrated at the Middle East simply because Trump had this nailed with the Abraham Accords, and then of course we had the whole situation with Hamas deliberately egregiously attacking peace kibbutzes and just behaving in a way that wasn't even an invasion. It was deliberately intended.
And 6 other proxies, of course.
It intended to provoke the Israelis because Iran feared that peace was going to break out. I think that we as Europe disgraced ourselves over Iran. But how do you see the whole thing developing with Israel and with Lebanon and with a potential peace deal?
Well, I do think the conversation with Israel and Lebanon and the situation there is important and is critical to whatever happens in Iran. But I'm frustrated with Iran in that situation as well. I think President Trump probably waited a couple of weeks late. We saw the slaughter of tens of thousands of Iranians on the streets of Tehran and other cities where President Trump said,
I mean,
America is coming.
In fairness, Matthew, Iran is not a pushover, and you just didn't have the military hardware deployed in the right places. So it wasn't really the fault of the president.
Well, and that's a fair point. What I also think, though, is we have, according to the president, won the war several times. I look at it over the last 96 days since we started bombing Iran on Friday, February 27th. It feels a little bit like Charlie Brown and Lucy and the football, where we've been promised victory, and there has not been. And as someone who grew up in the global war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq, I'm very skeptical of anything other than troops on the ground being able to depose something like the
Yeah, but
IRGC.
even then, you look at Vietnam. I mean, they've sank the Iranian Navy. They've destroyed their air force. They've got no anti-aircraft missiles. It's not as simple as destroying everything, because then it's all splintered. They already designed it so that you can't see. I mean, Trump's already said who's the leader. We don't know who to negotiate. So it's sort of got into a big quagmire. Is it going to come to an end at some point? I mean, today we're seeing as some sort of deal, and what's going on with all this insider dealing? Every time there's a deal, there's loads of shares bought and sold, and there seems to be someone in the inner circle who knows all the information. But in the meantime, when are we going to see peace at all?
Yeah, I think you've raised an excellent question. I know from an American perspective that Republican voters right now are very frustrated. Gas prices are $2 more expensive than they were when President Trump took office. I know they're expensive in Great Britain, and that is what a majority of Americans are now thinking about as we head into the midterm elections in November of this year. I know President Trump doesn't want to sacrifice the United States Senate and the House of Representatives without, on Iran. But he wants a deal very quickly, and I think he's frustrated. We also can't, by and large, trust the Iranian people, and with the Mosaic leadership structure, which has existed since we got the first Ayatollah, I think that it's very difficult to know whom to speak to and then whether or not to trust them. We're in a tough spot with that right now.
OK, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we leave it there? Matthew Hurt, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. He's a Republican strategist. Now, after the break, we're going to have Call Asher, but I think before we go to the break, OK, we're not going to do that, but
not ready.
We're going to go for Call Asher, and then we've got a bit of a surprise for Asher straight after this.
Oh. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and we're going to go to Call Asher. We're going to leave about 10 or 15 minutes where you can call Asher exclusively. If you've got any sexual, religious, legal problems...
Cooking, DIY, I'll do anything. I'm not qualified in anything, but I'll give it a go.
All the advice is based on no knowledge whatsoever, and you would be full to take it, but it is going to come up in a second. However... It is Asher's birthday this week, or it was, and so the producers of the show have come up with a special video, which we are now going to show to celebrate the greatness, the genius that is Asher Gould. Take it away.
Yeah, that's true.
Gould!
Traces of drugs in rivers could damage species development, scientists warn, and apparently makes them talk incessantly rubbish. Cocaine-fueled salmon swim nearly double the distance of non-drugged fish. Well, what's not to like? And venture much farther afield, scientists have said. Well, there is a problem with it. Experts say they worry that fish exposed to drugs through water pollution may end up swimming into unfamiliar waters, so they're going to dodgy areas, as you will do when you're on that sort of stuff. Not that I know.
It's been appropriated by gay people about 15 years ago, and ever since then it's been politicised. Now it's been taken over by the trans, and now it's got, like, wars are involved in it. It's got for Gaza now.
I mean, for Gaza, protesting outside, the poor girl that's singing for Israel, protesting.
Hamas will have a song in it next year.
Ash has already been upset by the what do they call
Liam? What's his name with bolstering?
Oh,
Britain.
don't even Don't
even say my name. His
publicity.
name. Never say his name. Liam.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Never say Liam.
No, he is a nobody. He's desperate to be famous.
He wouldn't even walk out. He's trying to make me walk out. I'm not falling for that, man. I'll stay here, thank you. Yeah.
They throw eggs at your house and do all kinds of stuff like that when it was on Mischief.
And that in your day, there was rationing on eggs.
Shut up. Yeah, I used to go out and scrape them all up and take them in and make a nice scrambled egg. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So have you actually been seen yet?
Yeah, but not by the main person. Look, 5 hours wait, but I'm the only one here, so it's all right.
Yeah, hang on. You can see there's 3 doctors and only you there, and it's still going to take 5 hours. What have they all gone on holiday?
Well, they're probably doing a synchronised bit of choreography, to celebrate the NHS.
For Chris Eubank, used to do a show with him. He's got no recollection of me whatsoever, but that's all right, man. A lot's happened since then. You haven't aged, though.
Well, that's handy. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It is my honour and privilege to announce that the first of our 6 loony ministers is the Minister of Talking TV, Lord Ash.
Incredible.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the party, sir.
Oh, it's great, great to be
I
here.
can take the first sticker off.
Oh, look, you're revealed in all your glory.
Oh, fantastic, man.
See?
Look at that. Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah. Nice.
Speech!
I like the hat.
Speech!
Well,
Speech!
I'm going to make a big difference with the monsters. We're going to take back the country, get control, grasp it, and we'll stop all mass immigration, make it all great, and bring in all those fantastic policies.
Well, they got a lot of people on the left have a mental illness. I mean, this is factually, by the psychological journals. They're narcissists, virtue signalers.
What did you say? A lot of people on the left have mental illness.
Yeah, that's just a fact.
No, Ash, you're going too far.
That's psychologically they've shown.
Ash, I cannot let you say this, obviously.
Well, what?
Well, but you can't say that people on the left have psychological illnesses.
No, but it is true.
It's
factually
true.
been studied in psychology. Narcissism, depression. It is true.
Yeah.
Mango 7 east and westerly at 7 miles an hour. Good, bad, medium. St Ives and Norwich, rough as heck. Don't go by the rocks. Good. 10 degrees south. Bad.
I never ever encouraged my children or any member of my family
to
not take the jab.
To take it or not to take it?
Not take it.
So you didn't encourage them to take it?
No.
So you encouraged them not to take it?
No, I didn't encourage them not to take it.
The problem is, it's got...
You started off at the wrong thing.
No, right. So just to be clear, she didn't tell them not to take it, but she didn't tell them to take it either. Is that correct?
So you told them to take it and not take it?
No. Ash, please stop.
Start again. Tony in Lincolnshire, you're on Talk.
I didn't take it.
Yeah.
But I didn't encourage my children not to take it.
And what did they do in the end?
They didn't take it.
Right. Okay.
Is that what you encouraged them to do?
No, I'm just telling you, I didn't encourage them to take it.
And did they do what you told them?
I didn't. Oh, my...
Don't touch this, Grandad. This isn't the stuff they used in the 60s. This is very, very sophisticated.
Where?
Where? Oh no! Don't touch it, Grandad. No, you're gonna break it.
Where are the turntables? If we're going to do a music show,
where are the ones and twos? The wheels of steel.
Yeah, where are
the
they?
rubbish studio.
I mean, honestly, we came in here, we thought we'd do a show and then try and sell it to...
This stupid typewriter. Look, it's not even...
That's not a typewriter, that's a keyboard. The James Whale Show with this thing here, I mean, honestly, is this human? Is it AI? Who knows? 7 o'clock tonight till 10... What?
Me and Grandad tonight from 7 on Talk Radio. Come on, it's all right.
No, that's offensive.
Oh, no, I see me old mucker there.
What a sad thing! You know, when I first came here and I saw James, I thought I don't recognise him, but it shows how much he'd changed and how much the illness had made him. Oh, what about this?
Didn't have one for your birthday.
Oh,
fantastic!
Yeah. Look at that! That's a cake with a fake candle for health and safety reasons. We've got a little cupcake. Do you remember that guy who, when we said cook the haggis in one of these, and he cooks it? He cooked it for 15 minutes in a microwave. It was like coal.
Oh, yeah, it was molten, wasn't it, in your mouth?
It's like coal. Right, OK.
It was like Mount Etna in his mouth.
Right, OK. So I'm going to have my cake. So it's coal ash. You've only got...
Any advice, anything you want?
They've only got till about half hour past, so they've only got 5 minutes.
By the way, you can go on YouTube or after the show and you can watch our hosted Plank of the Week this week, so have a look at that. Ooh. And tomorrow night from 9 p.m, of course, what just happened. Samara's presenting it. But anyway, any advice on anything you want, I'm here to help you. And, you know, it might work. You never know. So, he's gone. So it's Ask Ash. 0344 499 1000. We'll be back with all your quandaries on Talk after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, hi, yeah, welcome back to Talk. It's me, Ash. Andre, he's gone out because, you know, 3-hour show at his age, he needs to go and point Percy at the porcelain. Anyway, it's Ask Ash. I help with all your problems. And Janice has called in. Janice in Essex. How can we help? How can I help, Janice?
Oh, Ash, you know me, mate.
Yeah, I know I do, yeah.
Yeah, you know me, love. If I've ever upset Ash, I'm sorry. If I've upset Andre, I'm really sorry. I don't know what I've done.
No, you just...
But...
he stormed out, it's all right. It probably is your fault, but anyway, never mind.
He stormed out because I was on, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I think it probably was that, yeah. By the way, thanks, Catherine, and JKGT.
I've got a thick skin, mate.
I know.
I've got a thick skin.
I know, it's like leather.
Yeah, no, it's like, I look like a tortoise now, mate.
Yeah.
I look like a tortoise.
It's good to have thick skin, isn't it? So anyway, what's your problem, man? How can I help you?
Well, I could tell you my problem, but I wanted to say something that's on my mind, right?
Well, this isn't really...
No.
This isn't... All right.
No.
Well, it's not
when
really...
Conservatives win, Labour blocked everything Conservatives wanted to do. Like, this is just the latest thing. My mind races at a rate of knots.
You what?
I can talk about 24 things in an hour.
Well, this is Ask Ash, where you phone in with your problems and that, like, so...
Right. Right, so I'm asking
away you go with your problems, yeah.
No, I ain't got... Well, I won't tell you my
Well, I mean,
problem.
this is the section. This is the section.
I'm not going to go on with that
this
one.
is specifically for the problem bit, you see.
Oh,
it's a
you
problem.
want my problem?
That is a problem in itself. Yeah, so let's have a
Well,
problem.
I
You got any
don't know,
problems?
she goes,
DIY, sex relationships, holiday, travel advice, anything? I know you got rats in your house and no ceiling and your boiler's broke.
What I had 2 days ago was a brain hemorrhage.
All right. Well, yeah, I can't really help with that. You've got medical...
No, let's get on.
You sound all right. You mean, is that a stroke? Have you had a mic?
No, I was really scared. Just trying.
Right, tell us about it. I mean, this is serious. So you had a brain hemorrhage. What? I mean, did you go? Obviously, you went to hospital. We called an ambulance.
What happened was, right. I'd had a few falls a couple of years ago. You're asking, right? We're not talking about politics. I'll change that.
Yeah.
Right. What happened to me 2 days ago? Got up in the morning, and well, I thought it was a nose. I don't have nosebleed. It wasn't coming from my nose. It was coming from my head, and it was pouring. Literally pouring. I couldn't even unravel the tissue out quick enough.
Coming out your nose? It was coming out your nose?
All over the floor.
Sorry, Janice, it was coming out your nose, was it?
Well, it comes... No.
Your
and
mouth?
If I lift my head up, it was going down my throat.
Right, okay. So what did you call an... You didn't call an ambulance? I mean, you didn't get medical...
I'll tell you why. You might think I'm stupid. I'll tell you why I didn't do it. Because I haven't done my will. I was scared. I'm still scared because it could happen again.
What do you mean you were scared of going into hospital?
No, I was scared because I haven't sorted any paperwork out. I've got a cat that needs someone. If I went into the hospital and I didn't come out, I was...
So you were worried about going into hospital and ending up being worse...
And then I managed to... It took from 8 o'clock in the morning till 2.
Look, you got to phone your doctor, Janice. You got to speak to your doctor, Janice.
I did. All
right, good. What did the doctor do?
Nothing.
What do you mean?
Expect them to do?
What do you mean?
No, they said go to A&E, and I can't. I said I can't. I haven't got the money to get there, and I didn't have the money to go and get a cab to go to the hospital, and I didn't have the money to go and get.
Well, I mean, you need to call it. You know what I mean? It's a serious problem, Janice. This isn't something you got to ring 101 and ask them. You know.
Oh, you kidding me? I've done them before.
Well, you can't just hang around. I mean, you know, with something like.
Well, I have. No, I stopped it, but I don't think it's gone.
Well, you've definitely got to. I mean, maybe you should get off the phone now and speak
on that side.
You should be doing it now, actually, Janice.
I've had a couple of brain scans. I will deal with it.
With that, you promise that you're going to do it, and you're going to do it. Basically, after this call, I'd like you to ring 101 immediately.
No, it's 111.
111. No, yeah, don't ring that because it's wrong. Ring 111.
But I don't think it's gone.
But please, will you promise me that you'll do? Will you promise me you'll ring that, or if not, even 999? Because it sounds like it's a very serious matter. If you've got blood.
Look, I've curbed it now. I've stopped any medication because it could have been medication that has caused it.
Well, look, we're going to get off now. You've got to promise me you're going to ring 111 now, or we're not going to let you on again. Come on, do it.
Oh, no, you've already said you're not letting me on.
Well, no, we will let you on, but you've got to ring 111 and you've got to get advice for this.
What am I going to do?
All right, we will let you on, but you've got to promise me you've got to ring 111.
I'm going to give it a couple of days.
No, do it straight away when you call. Just try it now after the call, because, you know, what would happen? It could happen in your sleep, Janice.
They'll tell me, get down the hospital within 20 minutes.
Tell them you can't get there. Tell them you can't get there. Can you please send an ambulance then? That's what you tell them.
I'm okay at the moment.
Well, you don't know that, Janice.
No, I am okay at the moment. I know where the bleed is coming from.
You don't know, Janice. It's in your in your head.
I do know. No, because I know where it's coming from.
All right,
if I'm getting a headache, if I start feeling it building up, believe me,
Well,
I'll find an
I'd rather
ambulance.
you just did it now, Janice.
Believe me, I'll find an ambulance. I will do it. I promise you, Ash.
Promise me,
promise
but will
you.
you ring them after this call, just 111, just see if you can get through and ask them?
Oh, I can't spend 2 hours on that. No,
Well, no, but try anyway, and if not, then
on
ring in the
phone with him.
morning, but try at least after this call.
Right. If the headache doesn't go,
Right, so you've
Right,
still got a
tomorrow.
headache. You've still got a headache
if
now.
the headache
Well, look, that's
doesn't
a
go
sign.
by
If you've got a headache
tomorrow,
now,
I'll
then you've got
phone someone.
to you've got to do it, Janice. Honestly, if you've got a
No, I
headache now.
don't.
Well, you do.
I don't, because it's frightened the life out of me because I've got nothing sorted. No will, no cat sorted.
Well, exactly. So
If
you
I
definitely
don't
need to
know
get it
will,
sorted. If you haven't got a
who's
will,
gonna-
you don't
who's
want to.
gonna come in and sort all this crap out?
Yeah,
No
well,
one.
Yeah, well, look.
No one.
Will
I
you
have
ring?
no one,
If you don't ring, I'd rather you rang
you
now
That's all I've
tonight
got.
because something could happen in the night. So you know what I mean. I'd like you to ring
Well,
after
that's
this
what I
call.
thought the other night when the blood was up. I
Well,
got through the night.
You said
out.
you've got a
I
headache
got
now.
through it.
You said
I
you got but
through
you've
it.
got a headache now. So you know what I mean. You can't mess about with these things, and there's no way you know you're all right. You don't sound all right if you've got a headache.
I know my body.
You don't. I mean, you wouldn't know about that, to be honest. You've
No, I
got
do know about
bleeding.
hematology, mate. I know about blood clots. I do know.
Right.
I know when it's going to get that bad. I know I'll run. I know I will. Ash, I thank you
All right.
for your kindness.
Please call them, Janice. If you don't do it now, do it in the morning, please. Because, we'll be worried about you. So, anyway, that's Janice. I mean, I don't really want those very serious problems. Let's keep it light, but hopefully we'll speak to Janice tomorrow. Let's go Ruby in the West Midlands. Make sure she's all right, guys. Get a number. Ruby.
Hello, how you doing, mate? You all right?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, I hope your last call is all right. It sounds quite serious, so good luck to her.
Are you on hands-free?
I'm on speaker, 1 second.
Yeah, can you see?
Yeah, I'm back on normal
Lovely,
now. Yeah, I hope your last call is all right. Wish you all the
Yeah.
best. So, good luck to her. Yeah, just quickly, a few things I want to touch on a slightly very different note compared to your last caller is the current state of affairs, what's going on at the moment with this abhorrent thing that happened in Southampton.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that guy represents any part of the Sikh community. He's an absolute deranged idiot, and that's that. But it's the reaction from the likes of the man who claims to be fit to be the next future Prime Minister with his words, going precisely against the family's wishes and riling up the public to then go and
Well, I mean, to be honest, he has to represent the British public, and the family obviously have gone through a terrible thing, but the Labour Starmer were using the family to try and shut them up. But, the British people have had enough, and I think Farage was speaking for the vast majority of the population.
Okay, well, in terms of the rage thing, now, I'm just going to touch on something. When this thing happened in Liverpool last year, when the man drove into a massive crowd, where was he then? I was very keenly looking out for him. He didn't mention a word, did he? Didn't come out saying nothing. Where was his rage
Well,
then?
I mean, people couldn't talk about it at the time
No,
because
because he wasn't brown. He didn't suit the narrative. Is the bottom line. Okay, let's be honest. Let's call it a spade a spade.
Well,
right?
he couldn't talk about it at first, and then when it came out, none of the media were really speaking about it when it sort of finished, did it? It sort of petered out.
The other point I'm going to touch on is him and his knuckle-dragging mate, whatever his name is, Tommy, Russian, Israeli.
Oh, I don't think they're mates. I don't think they get on.
Well, whatever they are mates. Of course they are. They're playing this act. They're playing you all, mate.
I think they are.
But anyway, the colluders of Russia and Israel. Okay, the bottom line is they claim to want to protect our kids. Last year, did you know there were 3 massive, just that I know of, there must be a lot more, massive 3 grooming gangs, all white British people, convicted last year. One consisting of up to 21 people, including
But they're
men
not
and
covered up
women.
by authorities, are they? If they're found out, they've got to. It's a different kettle of fish, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but
When
why
the
aren't they talking
authorities
on
and
streets
the
about them?
CPS and
They're still banging on about something from Rotherham 15 years ago.
yeah, that were covered up by the authorities.
Right, this one now, it's not. Did you know
It's
about
not covered up. I didn't know about it. I don't know about this, no.
You didn't. So one was in Bolton, one was in Glasgow, and one was in the West Midlands.
Right.
Okay?
So 3 grooming gangs.
Sorry, yeah.
Which is
3
terrible,
grooming gangs.
but I mean, we're
Yeah,
talking
all
about
white
hundreds.
perpetrators, But you didn't even know about it, is my point.
I didn't know. But
Is that
as I
really
say,
protected?
that's not the
Is that-
story. If they get found out, we come down like a ton of bricks.
You haven't, because it's been brushed under the carpet.
Haven't they been arrested and charged and convicted? Or, if what you're saying is true?
My next point is, are we really protecting our kids by not warning them about the real dangers? Okay, because there's another grooming gang out there, and the kids aren't going to be aware of it. and guess what? There's going to be another talk of another one convicted in a few months or something. So are we really protecting our kids by hiding this?
They will be, they will be arrested. They will be.
They have been arrested. They've been convicted.
Yeah, well, the point is, these other grooming gangs weren't, were they? They were covered up, and in fact, in some cases, then the victim escaped. The police captured them and took them back to the sexual assaulters and paedophiles. Took them back to them.
Okay, and from my readings into some of the abused, which all of it's wrong, they're all proper. Whoever did this, they should be proper took out. The guys who did this, in whatever case, okay, no matter what background you're from, okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of that case, what I read on a few occasions, some of the abused went to their abusers, okay, got abused, and then went back home to the relative safety of their families at home. And went back to the abusers the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day.
Yeah, well, that's, they're not in their right mind. These are kids that are given, drugs. They're sometimes addicted. I mean, I know another story where the father went back, tried to get his daughter out, and was arrested by the police. I mean, it's unbelievable stuff. You listen to Maggie Oliver. There was a guy who got done for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old. Anyway, he only got 3 years for sexual assault. Turns out she was pregnant. They did DNA, tested it. It was his DNA, so it was proven that he raped her. Of course. And it was never racially aggravated when they were calling them white this and white that. Why is it not racially aggravated when it comes to it? Do you know what I mean? There's all these things, and we live in a we do live in a two-tier system, and we saw that seen it with the justice system, and now we've seen it officially in black and white in the NPCC.
But we also see it with the Tommy marches, where the two-tier marches, because if they really want to protect our kids, they should be looking at themselves as well.
What do you mean?
Half of these perpetrators are probably at the marches. They probably just haven't been caught yet.
Well, I mean...
That's my point.
Well, I mean, it's anyone who does it from that... They don't cover up for that community, do they? Anyway, thanks, Ruby. Let's go to Heather in Garfan.
Wow, that's a heavyweight discussion that you talked to Ruby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
he was good, though, wasn't he? He was good to talk to.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. A couple of days ago now.
Oh, you're 21 again.
That's right, yeah. Plus VAT.
Yeah, it's like Henry...
Novak
case as well.
What is?
And there are some, like his brother needs to be in the court, his mother needs to go in the court.
I think they are doing that, so I think they have been. Some have been charged, and I think there will be others to follow, so we've got to be careful about ongoing cases. Is 21 years enough, though? Is 21 years enough? He'll be out when he's 40. I mean, that's about my age.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
He has his whole life ahead of him. That kid is dead forever. That 18-year-old poor Henry Novak, rest in peace, was 18, had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got his...
And again, like Rudy Cabana, there was signs. He was obsessed with knives and things like that. And also, on the other hand, what I said earlier about, being handcuffed could have aggravated. There's doctors coming out now, and when you're stabbed or something, the body will clot blood. It will block things to try and putting his arms behind his back while he's been stabbed in the chest. Will cause you don't move someone who's ill, and he was dead within seconds of them doing that. So that suggests to me, I mean, I'm no expert, but there are experts mentioning it, and I did think about that earlier. If you pull someone's arms back and they're injured, the clots are going to break apart. I remember talking about Professor David, the medical guy that was found. They said he committed suicide. David Kelly. They said, he cut his wrists. We had a surgeon on. He was retired. He'd been the Royal Free Accident A&E emergency surgeon for 50 years, and he signed with 2 people saying, if you cut this vein, you can't die because it automatically retracts. And the police moving this guy, it would have disrupted the clots. Even if he was going to die, he may not have died within seconds of that happening. They may have been able to do anything. Anyway, that's going to be looked into, Heather. Anyway, that was Ask Ash. Quite a heavy one, but, we'll take everything, light and shade. Anyway, we're going to come back. I think Andre's probably just about finishing at the... it takes him a while these days. So, 0344 499 1000. We've got Callum, Nicholas. Well, make sure Janice is all right. Kevin, we're not going to talk to her. Callum, Francis, Matt, Nicholas and Cindy. It's Talk. We'll be back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, we were just talking in the break about what an unusual environment this is. I'll tell you, the first time I did this, so I went from being a contributor, but I was trained as a presenter. You did it slightly differently because you were co-hosting with James Whale and whatever. When the first time I even did a practice that nobody was listening to, I absolutely dumped myself.
I heard that. I was secretly listening.
Yeah, I was really nervous. And I mean, I'm not normally a nervous person, but it's just such an unnatural environment.
You forget people are nervous when they're not used to it. We had a guest once, he died straight after the call.
Well, somebody told me, and I don't know if it's true, actually I won't say who it was, that a very famous businessman in the Northwest made a speech at his daughter's wedding, sat down, boom, his head in the custard.
Yeah.
Dead.
It does happen at a lot of weddings. It happened to a mate's grandpa. My grandma was once at a wedding and she was chatting to this woman and then she turned around and said something, didn't answer back, and the woman had died at the wedding table. But she'd finished her meal. That's what my grandma said. So,
yeah, I think sometimes eating food can be...
Yeah, it can do it.
Right, OK, let's go to Callum in Leeds. Callum, you're on Talk.
Good morning, how are you doing?
We're all right, how are you, Callum?
Good, I'm absolutely fantastic, thank you so much. But before I continue, can I just ask if that last guest, Janice, I think she was called, has got an ambulance going towards her or something?
Yeah, Janice, we are checking, keeping an eye on her.
We have, I'll tell you what we're going to say to you, Callum. We have a special system that we don't announce to the public, so don't worry too much.
Yeah, because I've looked at face and speech time. You know, I've looked at that and obviously, you know, I had to just double check, obviously.
Yeah.
The problem is, from Asher's point of view, I felt a bit sorry for Asher because he can't agree with her. You can't legally agree with her when she says, I'm not going to get any treatment.
No, yeah.
You're not allowed to.
You've got to get treatment, Janice, if you're listening.
But don't worry.
We are following it up, though.
But don't worry. We have a system.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you what that system is, but we have enacted that system.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much as well, Talk TV, to all the team behind you. But back to what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
I was talking to your back team, and they was talking about, like, when it comes on to the NHS staff wearing, like, these pro-Palestine badges, these pride badges. I mean, I'm a gay person. I don't agree with a nurse or a doctor wearing a pride badge. I don't agree with it.
Why not? Just because they shouldn't have it should be just you there for medical treatment, not to announce your political beliefs.
Exactly, and you know what the thing is? I mean, as a gay person myself, now it became too politicalised. That's what it became. It became really...
Has it damaged? I mean, I've heard Douglas Murray, who's a famous gay intellectual.
A famous
gay. And he said, you know, all this LGBT thing as sort of... gay rights had just... Everyone was just normalised being gay. And now this has actually... it's turned it against it, all this adding the things to it, and Pride March is taking over, Stonewall changing its direction, and gay people are now suffering because of it.
Exactly. And you know, the thing is, I mean, the thing is now these days, I don't talk on behalf of the nation, guys. Andre, I mean, I don't speak on behalf of the nation.
But here is the difficult thing, it seems to me, when you're talking about the gay rights movement. The gay rights movement was very clear over many years to say, we are consenting adults doing our own thing in our own space, right?
Do it behind closed doors.
Now, when they were saying, hang on a second, we're not trying to change society. In fact, we're trying to morph society. We're trying to get married like quote-unquote normal people do. All of that argument to say, we're not trying to recruit your kids, we're not fundamentally trying to change society, we're not going to inflict any harm on anyone, we're only consenting adults. All of that has been blown to pieces by Stonewall and the trans thing. Because it is very clear that Stonewall and the trans lobby are trying to break up the nuclear family. They are trying to recruit children. They are trying to inflict long-term harm. They are trying to bully people. They are trying to push their views down people's throats. They are trying to deny all those things that the gay community said they weren't doing and didn't. Are all, I mean, this whole, when people say, you know, you have to accept me for what I am. Well, with respect, you're amputating your genitals. I mean, you're not really accepting yourself. If I would suggest.
Listen, I've got a saying. I've this saying, and I suppose I can say it right now because we're past the watershed. If you walk like a duck, you quack like a duck, then you're a duck. That's my opinion.
Could be a mallard.
Now, if you want to try and throw things down people's throats...
I mean, look, I'll tell you what, I've got a friend of mine who's trans, and my basic view is this. Do what you want to your body, as long as you understand the implications of it. And certainly if you want to walk around in a dress, or indeed walk around with men's clothes, conversely, then do that. I mean, it would be ludicrous if your number one ambition in life was to go out on a Friday night in women's clothes. For you not to do that, I would suggest is madness, because you only live once. But the problem is, and my friend said, I am a man who wants to have a sex change or whatever. This whole idea, I am a woman, I was born a woman in a man's body. When you think about it from a biological point of view, it's utterly ludicrous, because you either are a man or you're not a man. You know what I mean?
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. And do you know what? Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
Sorry, I know you asked the question to me, but have you ever been to a Pride? Any of you both?
I've been to some gay clubs. I've never been to a Pride event. Never had any cause to.
I'll tell you what, I have been to some Pride events, and I have to say, it's, from what I can see, it's mostly young men walking around in their underpants, which is perfectly fine, but...
Exactly.
And I get all my gay information from Douglas Murray, and he talks about it. I always get it. And he said, why are they all celebrating that, you know, it's their sexuality? I mean, I could understand in the early days, because, you know, they were proud to come out, but it's been normalised, you know what I mean?
I think the other thing is, when people talk about bravery, I mean, I think of bravery in terms of, you know, facing cancer, or I think of bravery in terms of running up a beach into machine gun fire.
That is bravery.
In Normandy. You know, when somebody goes, oh, he was so brave because he walked round in his underpants on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, depends where. Pride. You do have to be brave to do that in some places.
You think, Saudi Arabia.
But listen, guys, bravery is about the fighting for our country, standing up for our country.
Yeah.
If you want to walk around with badges like our nurses are, and our doctors are, to promote gay rights, pro-Palestine, stuff like that, I'm not interested in that stuff.
Yeah, but
they're the cowards. They're the spineless people that do all those.
Callum, before we go, can I just ask you one question? Do you agree with my view that the only symbol you should be allowed to wear is the Christian crucifix, and there should be a special exemption for that? And if we say that is not inclusive, shove it. I don't care. It's a Christian country.
I mean, I'm not a Christian myself, but I agree with you. It's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Sure.
Great, Callum, thank you so much. Let's go to Cindy in Michigan. Howdy doody, Cindy.
Howdy doody, happy birthday.
Thank you, hot dog. That's American. That's American for good.
Is it?
Yes. They say hot dog when something's good. They say hot dog.
Frog,
right.
Albert.
In the 1950s, they used to say that.
That's right.
Hot dog.
Hot dog.
I wanted to say a few things about.
And if it's really good, they say hot diggity dog. Anyway, sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
That's right. Very good. Well, I wanted to say a few things. I think what happened to Henry Novak was racism.
It's gone big in America, hasn't it, this Henry Novak? Because Elon Musk has tweeted about it, and I don't mind him sticking his nose in. Free speech goes both ways. And the Labour Party tried to get Trump. They went over there. So I think free speech, just because he's American anyway, his grandmother was a Scouser.
Not in legacy media. I watch. You know, something like Talk. And I wanted to say the police need to be retrained.
Yes.
To get the woke out of them.
Shouldn't they just be shut down and relaunched in the old Robert Peel system, which is it's just gone so far from it, policing by consent?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that they need to get rid of the upper... I think they need to get rid of the upper ranks.
Yeah,
in the police force.
Yeah, they've all been captured because they're the ones issuing these racist policies,
the orders.
Basically. Yeah.
Yes, that's right, 100%. You've got
but equally, Cindy, I mean, if you are given a warrant card and you take the oath of allegiance to king and country, and then you simply follow orders. We were talking earlier in the show, I don't know if you know, but there were lots of, and I'm not comparing Britain to Nazi Germany, but in the Third Reich there were people who had volunteered for ordinary police forces in places like the Netherlands, France, Belgium, all these places. And when the Nazis came in, they kept the same police and they forced those police to round up the Jews. Now, look, those police did not join because they were anti-Semitic. They did not wish to participate in the Holocaust, but their own cowardice left them in a position whereby they ended up being complicit. Now, I would argue with you that if a ordinary police officer says, I never joined the police in order to be racist against white people, I'm white myself, but I went along with it because I was too cowardly, I would say, sling your hook. We want to sack you anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you're complicit in anything, you know, like for instance, Janice calling up and let's say you said to her nothing about going to the hospital, you're kind of complicit with her. You know, like your job is to say something. Always.
I know in the military it's illegal to follow an order if it's immoral or illegal. You know, you have to defy the order.
That's correct.
Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I agree with you about the only thing, nothing on the what do you call them, the lanyards?
Yeah.
About your sexuality or
it's
about
unnecessary.
Your political...
In the military, you're not allowed that, and it's a state system.
By the way, in the film that I'm in about Watson versus Eubank, I had to get a lanyard, so I used this. Now, this is an old card, but this is one of these press accreditation cards. There we go. It's an old one, actually. But there you go. That's what they look like. But I wore that. But the only lanyard I could find was one that said, she delivered for us, now it's time to deliver for her. It was from the Margaret Thatcher Foundation.
She didn't deliver the milk,
So now, not only is Gary Newbon originally was from Northampton, he's now from Manchester, he now has fights with his guests, and he's an ardent Thatcherite.
He was a good man, he used to work at Talk Towers.
They said to me, when he sees your depiction of him, he's going to be quite surprised. Well, let me tell you, I'd made no effort to be like him at all. Although I think I'm a bit like him anyway.
Peas in a pod, apart from the northern accent.
How can we see you in the film?
The film's not out. I think what's going to happen is...
It wasn't a tax ruse, was it?
I think what's going to happen is we're hoping, fingers crossed, that TalkSport are going to have a press preview night here on the 17th floor. We think that's what's going to happen. The boss of Talk is a big boxing fan. He's met with the producers. It's above my pay grade, obviously. And then we're going to have the premiere on Leicester Square. I think the premiere will be the 10th of September, and we think potentially you might be able to watch it on the TalkSport YouTube channel pay-per-view, or I don't know, but...
It's going to cost you.
That would be fantastic, and I would pay to watch it.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a good film.
We've got to go, Cindy.
It's Yasmin in Manchester. Yasmin, the Teenage Witch.
What you got for us, Yasmin?
Hiya, darlings. Ash.
Yeah?
You know when I was talking about football?
Yeah.
Hull City won in 95th minute, babe.
Did you say that?
She did.
Well done, man. Well, of course you would do. You saw it in crystal balls.
Oh, she was wrong. She said it'd be 2-1, not 1-0.
Ah.
I didn't remember that. She told us.
Yeah,
you got the minute right, though. She did get the minute. Did you put any money on? Or would that be an abuse of your powers?
I couldn't do that,
no. You might damage your powers. Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations. I wish I'd got any more. What are the lottery numbers going to be?
I'll tell you what.